has just been, not good.
I'm so upset. Oh my God.
Well, hello.
Welcome to the Young Turks. Jake Huger, Anna Kasparian with you guys. So lots of amazing stories today. So number one, we have non-Epstein related stories. We've got a poll on ICE. I mean, because we have to clarify that.
That's a really great way of framing it. We do have some non-Epstein stories for you, as much as it pains us to say that.
No. The other stories are also super important. How's Trump's polling on ICE? That's important because it affects whether he's going to continue going down this road or turn around. And there's some super interesting numbers in there. Also, we've got Donald Trump trying to nationalize the elections. How are Republicans reacting to that? That's also very interesting. And a lot more on the domestic front. But when it comes to Epstein materials, you have come to the right place. Because unlike establishment media, we're not going to cover up reality in the news for you guys and pretend that things are completely different than what they are. And we're not just going to give you opinion, but we will also provide our perspective. We're going to give you the actual news, the things that are actually in the files. And to me, I state all of that in the beginning because it's startling to me that we have to clarify that, and that we're among the very, very, very few shows in all of media that's actually doing that. And like at this late date, no, as far as I know, and as far as anybody online knows, no establishment media network has covered Epstein's connections to Israel yet.
No, they're not going to. They're owned by Zionists, and Zionists want to bury that. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to know that a serial pedophile was being utilized by the government of Israel for their own dirty deeds. It's embarrassing.
And to me, one of the most important things it is, you know how they say about the cover-up's worse than the actual crime. In this case, the actual crime is really bad, right? But look at the cover-up, because so it's one thing when another government tries to affect us. It's a different thing though when our own government officials cover up those crimes. So those are the folks I'm most angry about. We'll get to all the details though, so you see for yourself. But now the new thing, and hence the prelude here, and we're about to show it to you, but is, I guess I was still a little naive about the media, because I did not expect them to put up a total wall here and just go, nope, we're gonna ignore the enormous elephant in the room. And that really, it's mask off. It tells you exactly who they are, and I won't make that mistake again.
Okay, so look, I hate beating around the bush. My level of patience at this point with pretty much anything is negative. It's not even zero, it's negative. Jeffrey Epstein worked for Israel. There is a mountain of proof, but everyone wants to lie about it. And I want to tell you how. Let's watch.
The connections he helped make with, with Ehud Barak and various security companies. I mean, all of these in all the different countries that he apparently had sway and inside information into. I'm like, wow, it's incredible how much power this unelected pedophile had in the world.
Well, that unelected pedophile with all his power working on behalf of intelligence, well, that's how he had that power to begin with. Now, the real question is, when we say Epstein worked for intelligence, what are we referring to? Specifically, Israel and the CIA. Same, by the way, same. Now, you wouldn't know that if you simply consumed US corporate media, because they are going out of their way to bury that, avoid reporting on it, and in fact, divert your attention to something entirely different. Before we get to that, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, I think the way that they are pretending that it was Russia instead of Israel, as we're about to show you, really reveals their hand. Because we're gonna show you how it's clearly not Russia, they have access to the same material. So any outlet, any media outlet saying it's Russia is not just getting the story a little wrong, or it could be Russia and Israel. No, they're purposely putting Russia out there to mislead you so you don't realize it's Israel, because the evidence is overwhelming. So let's get to it.
So despite all that evidence that Cenk is alluding to, some of which we've shown you on this program, which links Epstein specifically to Israel, well, you still have many of the usual suspects trying to lead you in the wrong direction. And what do I mean by usual suspects? Well, remember, CBS News is now headed by Barry Weiss, an unapologetic and fanatical Zionist. And here's what they're pushing.
Poland says it's looking into possible connections between convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and Russian intelligence services. The announcement came after the US Justice Department last week released millions more files related to the federal investigation into Epstein. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said Tuesday, quote, more and more leads, more and more information, and more commentary in the global press all relate to the suspicion that this unprecedented pedophilia scandal was co-organized by Russian intelligence services.
That's amazing. That's incredible news. I would like to see those files because I can't find them. Now, there are files that discuss Russia, but specifically emails that Epstein is sending in regard to connecting Ehud Barak to some of the contacts he might have in Russia, specifically so Ehud Barak can attend some sort of, it's known as the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Epstein had a relationship with the head of the forum, a guy by the name of Sergei Belyakov, and he helped Barak, meaning Ehud Barak, secure private meetings with senior figures in the Russian government. Now, did he do that at the behest of Russia, or did he do that at the behest of Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel? You're gonna tell me that Epstein was a spy for Russia? That's amazing. Now, there's other examples I wanna give you. Here's another one, sadly from LBC, which some of their programming I really like, but this post is total crap. Former MI6 spy insists Jeffrey Epstein was recruited by Russian organized criminals and likely had compromat on Trump.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah. Okay, so I have more. I have evidence to the contrary, but Cenk, I want you to jump in first.
Yeah. So in the emails, you see Epstein doing several things with Putin, and that's why Putin is mentioned a lot in the emails. So that's the thing that Israel first is hanging their hat on. Well, he said Putin a lot, he said Russia a lot. Yeah, but what did he say? So in some cases, he is successful in setting up meetings with the Russians. So Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel, asked for a meeting with Putin, and it appears that Epstein delivers on that meeting. So that shows you, oh my God, Epstein's one of the most powerful people on earth to be able to set that up. But in other instances, he is repeatedly trying to get a meeting with Putin on his own and can't. Well, wait, if you're working for Russian intelligence, and you see him, okay, here, have Anna give you the exact.
I want to give you the exact details here. So these are in my notes because I wanted to be specific. So throughout 2015, and you find this in the correspondences in Epstein's emails. Throughout 2015, Epstein continued his attempts to arrange a meeting with Vladimir Putin to discuss economic matters, emailing the former Norwegian prime minister in July of 2015 stating, I still would like to meet Putin and talk economy. I would really appreciate your assistance. So as late as 2015, homeboy can't get in touch with Putin. He's never met with Putin, he can't get in touch with Putin, and he's unable to reach him in any way. So explain to me how the leader of Russia has no relationship whatsoever with Jeffrey Epstein, who's allegedly a spy for Russia.
Hold on, one more important thing, Anna. Who did he ask to set up that meeting?
The Norwegian prime minister.
So why, if you're working for the Russians, why would you have to go to the Norwegian prime minister to try to get a meeting with the Russians?
Weird.
So like all the reporters at Free Press, CBS, New York Post, etc., have seen that, and they still wrote it as if he works for the Russians. That's a purposeful lie.
there's more. These interactions with the Norwegian prime minister, these interactions occurred during a time when Epstein was actively trying to boost his standing in Russia and leverage connections to friends in the FSB.
Yeah, okay, so he's trying to leverage it, but he can't get there. Okay, now, guys, at the same time, we're gonna get to all the things that connect him to Israel in a second. But every time there's a story that might implicate Israel, we see in our news outlets, Russia.
Yep. Russia's always the scapegoat.
Now, here's another thing that those non-reporters don't tell you, is that Russia and Israel are opposed to one another. Do they sometimes make deals behind the scenes? Yes. By the way, that happens all the time. Our press never reports on it. Israel make deals with Turkey from time to time, and nobody is ever the wiser, right? And then it'll leak, etc., and we'll bring it to you guys, right? But overall, Russia was backing Iran and Bashar al-Assad in Syria, and Israel hated that. In fact, one of the reasons why we're so knee deep in Ukraine is because Israel loves that we are weakening Russia with that war, because it helped them get distracted, and it allowed Israel and Turkey to bomb Bashar al-Assad and get him out of Syria.
So they can take some land.
So Russia is the idea that that Russia and Israel are the same, or oh my God, and I've now seen this absurdity where some are putting out the propaganda that, oh no, Israel's just a colony of Russia. Russia's actually in charge. That's not remotely true. No, they're totally opposed on that. So and then finally the comical part, New York Post at the end of their compromat article, ironic, this propaganda article about how I think it's the Russians, right? And New York Post's Murdoch owned 100% of the tank for Israel throughout the last 30 years. We've shown you hundreds of examples, right? So at the end they go, Robert Maxwell is another connection. And I'm like, oh, they mentioned Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, who was a legendary Israeli spy. Maybe they're gonna actually throw something true in there. They say, who was of course a spy for the KGB. Oh, okay, come on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to actual journalists for a minute, okay? The real journalists, because it's funny. Back in October of last year, Dropsite News, while they were reporting on the leaked Epstein emails, had reported about what you just mentioned in regard to what Israel was trying to get Russia to do in Syria. So the piece, if you want to read it for yourselves, and they don't put their content behind a paywall, although if you could afford it, please support the work they do because they're amazing. But the piece, if you want to read it for yourself, is titled Jeffrey Epstein and the Mossad: How the Sex Trafficker Helped Israel Build a Back Channel to Russia Amid Syrian Civil War. Hijacked emails show how Jeffrey Epstein and former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak tried to engineer a Russian-led solution to remove Bashar al-Assad. That's what Israel wanted. They wanted him to be removed. We're not friends with Russia, we don't get along with Russia, but how can we convince Putin to work with us, okay?
So two quick things about that. Notice it's not Epstein trying to get the Russians to work on behalf of the Russians to get Israel to do something.
He's working on behalf of the Israelis.
On behalf of the Israelis to get the Russians to do something. And the second point is he can't. In that case, it does not work. So it's obvious that he's working for the Israelis. It's not even close, and this is one of many evidences. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna give you the relevant excerpts from this piece where they say that the trove of emails exchanged at the height of the Syrian civil war between 2013 and 2016 reveal Epstein's successful efforts to secure a private meeting between Barak and Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss a Russian brokered end to the conflict, including winning Russian support for a negotiated removal of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Together, Barak and Epstein sought to pressure the Obama administration to either intervene directly in the Syrian war or make concessions to the Kremlin in exchange for Assad's graceful exit. So basically what they were doing is they were reaching out to Putin, and in order to get Putin to do what they want with Syria and Bashar al-Assad, they were gonna try to get the US, I guess, to lift sanctions on Russia after the Crimea invasion. Like they're working out various deals, like various ways to convince Putin to play ball and help them in ousting Bashar al-Assad. But you wanna know something? It didn't work, it didn't work. So let me give you more. So despite securing a sit down, it didn't work. And then They didn't succeed in convincing Russia to support Assad's ouster, but their negotiations set the stage for US-Russia cooperation on disarmament of Russia's chemical weapons arsenal. Syria's chemical weapons arsenal a few months later. Now, look, does it sound like he's working for Russia?
No, he's trying to convince the Russians because he clearly 100% does not work for Russia. Instead, every deal he makes, including this one, is on behalf of who? Israel.
Exactly.
And our entire media says, I can't see it.
After their failed attempt to remove Assad, Ehud Barak and Jeffrey Epstein sought to leverage the Russian channel again in 2015 as Barak pushed for US strikes on Iran and rejected Obama's nuclear deal framework. Did that work? Did Russia go after Iran after that?
No, they didn't. So obviously he doesn't work for Russia. And by the way, notice in this email and many other emails, Epstein is constantly trying to pressure the American government to bomb Syria, to bomb Iran on behalf of who? Nigeria, Russia, Kazakhstan? No, every single time, Israel.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to Russia, you can't find a clear link to Epstein working for Russia, operating a blackmail operation on behalf of Russia. However, you do see Jeffrey Epstein working real hard on behalf of another country, and of course that's Israel. So look, everyone's focusing on what just got released by the DOJ in terms of the Epstein files, and you should be reading those. And we gave you numerous examples that show Epstein was doing work for Israel. But even before that, guys, as you know, if you watch this show regularly, Dropsite News had already done extensive reporting on all the various deals that Jeffrey Epstein had made on behalf of the Israelis. So I'll give you a few examples. This is another headline from Dropsite News. Leadership would like your help. Indian billionaire tapped Jeffrey Epstein before Modi's visits to US and Israel. New Department of Justice documents reveal Epstein's direct role in fostering ties between Indian, Israeli, and US elites. Here's another one. Praise Allah. There are still people like you. This is something that we actually did a story on. Jeffrey Epstein nurtured Israel Emirates ties before Abraham Accords. Okay, so we talked about that at length on this program. Here's another one. Ask Jeffrey. Epstein ran Wexner, meaning Les Wexner's pro-Israel philanthropy machine, emails reveal. The Wexner Foundation has long claimed Epstein did not make decisions regarding the use of foundation's funds. New emails show that is flagrantly false. And in these pieces, you get a sense of just how hard Epstein was working on behalf of Israel. So to say that Epstein was running a blackmail operation on behalf of Russia is absolutely insane. And it's not insane, actually. It is intentionally done to mislead the public and divert their attention away from the very clear relationship Epstein had with the Israelis.
Yeah, so we're gonna get to more evidence of his connections with the Israelis in a second, but let's pause here for this. So Epstein has connections to India, UAE, Russia, Mongolia, and many other countries. In every single instance, he sets up a connection to help which country? Every single time, Israel. Now, if you say that you missed that, you read all of the emails and every time Epstein's trying to help Israel, and you see him trying to get meetings with the Russians, but he can't, trying to get the Russians to do something, but he can't. And so he obviously clearly does not work for the Russians. And you write a story about how he works for the Russians. You didn't just accidentally get it wrong. You're trying to mislead your viewers, your readers, etc.
To lie to the public.
To lie to the public. So now for the public, there's a bunch of media outlets that did stories about how he works for the Russians. If you see that, understand that that outlet is totally compromised by Israel. And you should never trust a word they print because it's Israeli propaganda. But all the other outlets that haven't talked about the Russians, they also, none of them, zero, have talked about his overwhelming hundreds of ties to Israel. And that is enormously strange.
And look, this is not some kooky conspiracy theory. I mean, this used to be considered a conspiracy theory, not anymore. And
now it's proven.
A very good indication that people know what's really going on. It's unclear if they're gonna do anything about it, is how some Republican lawmakers are talking about this issue. So I bring you Josh Hawley, Senator.
At Dropsite, we reported that an Israeli spy named Yoni Koren stayed at his New York City apartment for weeks on end, several periods of weeks on end. Tucker Carlson discussed it on his podcast the other day, and want to know if you have any thoughts on that, because it's all in the documents between Ehud Barak. It wouldn't surprise you.
No, I mean, this is why I think it's so important to get these files out and have total transparency, is because his network was vast.
So there you have a senator, a Republican senator, Josh Hawley, asked about Jeffrey Epstein's ties to Israeli intelligence, and you can also count on Congressman Thomas Massey to just say it like it is, especially when it comes to this issue. Let's watch.
Do you believe Netanyahu's involvement with Trump is influencing the decision of the Epstein file release?
I think Israel is influencing the Epstein file release because Israeli intelligence and our own CIA was wrapped up with Epstein. And so it would be embarrassing to our own intelligence agencies as well as Israel's intelligence agencies for all that to come out.
And do you think he was a Mossad agent?
Let's talk about agent. I think he helped Mossad.
He sure did. Cenk, back to you.
Yeah, so in the past, literally no one would have admitted that. And which, by the way, again, stunning. Don't tell me that Israel doesn't control our government when it is unprecedented that when you could find two people in Congress who criticize Israel in this way, and when it's considered like remarkable, right? Why? Why couldn't you criticize many of your allies? Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Canada. We don't see them shy in criticizing any of those. But when it comes to Israel, it was like, no. Okay, wait, all right. But you're revealing your hand. You have the worst poker face in the world. So Massey, a guy of enormous courage, the Ro Khanna, Tom Massey team got these files released, and they should build statues of them. Okay, one Republican, one Democrat. We found one in each party that's honest. Hawley is thinking of running for president. That's why he's got that smirk, like we all know it, but we can't say it.
Well,
but
then
you're
not fit to be president.
No. But you know what? Since I'm going to run for president, and I know now, like the jury's in. If you try to run for president, these days actually, especially on the right wing side, and you're like rah Israel, like Ted Cruz is, you got no chance. So that memo just got sent to Hawley. That's why Hawley's like, yeah, probably it's Israel.
Wait, hold on. Why do you say especially on the Republican side? I think we're seeing the same type of energy on the left right now, where people are like, I'm not going to vote for a candidate who supports Israel.
Well, look, we're running OperationConsequences.com, where I say if you're a Democrat or a Republican, make a pledge in your primary so you don't have to vote for the other side to vote out anyone who gets money from the Israeli lobby or who gives money to Israel. So I hope that both sides do it significantly. In my experience, like if you asked me that question a year ago, I would have said, oh, the left is much more likely to rebel.
I agree.
Against Israeli cabinet, against someone who's blindly supporting Israel within our primaries, right? Now, though, I think the right is more pissed, to be honest. And there's still a contingent on the left. I love you guys, but that are still like the Hillary Clinton dead enders who are like, no, we just get Cory Booker.
Oh my God.
And like, yeah, he's totally 100% for Israel, but it's okay. He's so nice. You see what I'm saying? Like a Cory Booker might have a shot on the Democratic side, but a Ted Cruz has no chance on the Republican side.
I'm a one-issue voter at this point, and we're at war. So I want to be very clear. If you watch the show and you think you got to vote for the Democrat no matter what, Democrat supports Israel, they're my enemy. I do see them that way.
Yeah, I mean, because they're saying, I'm not going to represent you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're just declaring it. I'm going to represent another country.
That person is going to steal my taxes and hand it over to a genocidal regime.
And by the way, the person
not
who
interested.
The person who does that will also steal your taxes and hand them over to Big Pharma.
Yeah.
Because he's a thief and he's corrupt, and which describes about at least 95% of the Democrats in Congress. Last two things, guys. Dropsite News also showed that Epstein tried to acquire cyber weapons for Israel.
Yep.
There's still a question as to who he was working for. How could you see that and say, nope, I don't see, I won't even report that there are any connections to Israel. That's when these news organizations are making that active decision, they're basically planting a flag and saying, don't trust us. We work for Israel and we will hide the truth from you. And the last people that are hiding the truth, the people you should be angriest at, is our own government. For decades, they knew this stuff. We're just learning it now, but Obama knew it, Biden knew it, Bush knew it, Trump knew it, and all of them were like, oh yeah, we're all Epstein. And by the way, Epstein was in the middle of Iran-Contra. We knew he was arranging the Israeli end of Iran-Contra.
In the freaking 80s, man.
In the 80s.
Come on.
So both parties have known forever that we're selling out to the Israelis and our government works for Israel, and the most powerful people on earth are all, not all the powerful people, in this context, the people working with Epstein, we're all trying to help Israel. And our own government, Democrats and Republicans, said, yeah, let's betray the American people. By the way, they also knew all that time that they were raping those girls.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, go ahead. We're going to side with the predators who are against America, and we're going to side against young American girls and the American people. If you want to get mad at somebody, you should get mad at the disgusting politicians in America who sold us out. It doesn't matter what country they sold us out to.
Yeah.
It matters that they sold us out. You should be furious with them and never vote for a Republican or a Democrat who raises their hand and says, I'm going to keep selling you out. And if Israel gives me money, I'm going to take as much of your money as I can and hand it over to them, let alone the wars we're going to start for them.
That's right.
Unacceptable. OperationConsequences.com.
Well, the unfortunate pedo cabal continues when we come back from the break.
They knew and they let it happen.
All right, let's go to our members at TYT.com. Funkin' for Fun said, Cenk, I'm closer to your age, and I too am more surprised when the right agrees with me than when the left does. It's an amazing thing these days. And guys, don't get me wrong, the left is generally terrific on this issue. The voters, right? 92% of the voters say Israel went too far in Gaza, and they're totally against it. In a poll that was done like 4 or 5 months ago, already 65% of Democratic voters said we should cut all funding to Israel. So Democratic voters are great, right? Unfortunately, our politicians are sick, disgusting, corrupt people who work for Israel and big pharma. They've sold you out in 1,000 ways. If we can get our fellow Democratic voters to realize that Hillary Clinton is not their friend, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries is not their friend. They're the people who betrayed them the most, just like Trump has betrayed MAGA the most. So, and I talked to a Democratic donor the other day, and look, the good news is among the good guy donors, the ones who are desperately trying to hold a tsunami of other corporate cash back, etc., they're super mad at Biden. They're beginning to realize, I mean, it's hilarious and it's super late, but they're beginning to realize that he was just as big a narcissist as Trump. And if I can get all the Democratic voters to realize that, then we could pick the right Democrat, the right person on the left, instead of constantly the wrong one that betrays us. Boomer Dragon Cat says, seems to me that Epstein was more likely taken out by an intelligence agency than a direct Trump hit. Oh, for sure. No, there's no one powerful enough, including Trump or Biden or any one politician or a set of politicians to kill someone inside an American prison and get away with it. That's an intelligence agency, guaranteed.
Look, true, but don't sleep on financiers. They own and run everything. And there are a lot of financiers tied up in these Epstein scandals.
I know, but what difference does it make? The guys you're referring to are 100% in the pocket of Israel.
Yeah, that's
so it's either Israel or, by the way, it's never or. The CIA knows all of this and they helped Israel cover it up. The CIA is a disgusting organization that has done nothing but hurt America since the day that it was founded, okay?
I don't think there's any daylight between the CIA and Mossad.
Yeah, I think the CIA is Mossad. I think they are the deep state.
Yeah, yes. So like, you need candidates who openly say and actually mean that they're gonna dismantle that.
Yeah.
That needs to be dismantled. Otherwise, nothing changes, guys. The reason why there's continuity from one administration to another is because of the deep state.
Yeah.
It's not fake, it's real, and it must be dismantled.
Yeah, and look, the CIA can prove me wrong. They could actually do intelligence that shows what Israel's actually done. They've never done it in their entire existence. All they've ever done is work for rich and powerful people. In the beginning, it was WASPs. Now it's Israel. Miauser's clause establishment, hilarious name, says Epstein was connected to a number of countries' intelligence, but only one country was drawn on his dry erase board and had their prime minister crash with him, and also spies and a giant map of Israel in his house too. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Anna, and all these wonderful new people who just joined by hitting the join button. Join them. Makes us stronger. It allows us to do this independent and honest reporting that you're getting on only a tiny amount of places in the whole country. So Melly Puff Dragon, Joris Stagaris, William King, and Peter Wilkes, thank you so much. Peter actually upgraded to premium, which you could also do through the join button, which also helps tremendously. So thank you for all of you guys for supporting us. We support you guys because we're funded by you guys and we serve you guys. That's the whole point of this news organization. All right, CDN Norse Dog Dad, thank you for gifting a membership. And Melody Loves Music and With a Gal, thank you for gifting 5 apiece. You guys are amazing and we love you. Anna.
All right. One more Epstein story for the day, and then we'll move on to other things. But I thought this was important to share with you all because it turns out that some of the individuals wrapped up in this whole Board of Peace thing, yeah, you know where I'm going with it. So it turns out that Donald Trump has appointed the guy that you see right next to me to serve on the so-called Board of Peace to rebuild Gaza. Now, it doesn't help that this guy has close ties to Leon Black, one of the financiers accused of rape by one of Epstein's 16-year-old survivors. We read her diary entries about Leon Black earlier this week. But before we get to the person in question here, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, I think that it's not just about this guy, guys. It shows you how this game is played because there's a couple of details in this story that you really need to know to understand the whole picture. So Anna, give him the facts.
So the man in question is named Mark Rowan. Now, who is Mark Rowan? Well, if you are in the Ivy League system in any way, shape, or form, you might have heard of him. He graduated from Penn and in recent years has spent quite a bit of time trying to go after anti-Semitism on college campuses. But nonetheless, he actually ended up maintaining some close connections with Jeffrey Epstein long after Epstein pleaded guilty to child prostitution in 2008. Rowan also co-founded the private equity firm Apollo Global Management. Sound familiar? Yeah, that's the hedge fund that Leon Black was also part of. He was a major investor there. Now, Rowan was or has been Apollo's CEO since 2021, succeeding Black, who was forced to step down in 2021 after revelations that he paid Epstein more than $150 million allegedly for personal financial advice, which literally no one believes. Black was also accused of raping a 16-year-old girl with Down syndrome and autism. Allegations he denied, but they are allegations that were detailed in her diary as it was all happening in real time. So according to the Financial Times, Rowan and Epstein discussed tax-related matters over many years. Epstein requested and received internal Apollo financial documents and emails, emailed, met, and called some of the firm's most senior decision makers on sensitive matters. Which is weird considering the fact that the firm put out a statement back in 2020 after Epstein died in prison, claiming that they never did any business with Jeffrey Epstein at any point in time. In 2021, Apollo published the findings of a review from law firm Deckert that confirmed the statement was accurate. Right.
Yeah.
Deckard, I guess, can't be trusted. Rowan and Epstein emailed about a wide range of things, not just tax-related matters. In one email, Epstein describes a meeting that appears to have been with Apollo chief Mark. He misspelled Mark's name. He says, Mark was here this morning. We talked Athene, Montauk, Rothschild, planes, boats, etc. Oh, yeah, you've never done any business with Epstein. That's weird. Seems like you had a little visit with Epstein. Fascinating. The documents show that Rowan had multiple phone conversations and email exchanges with Epstein. These included discussions in which Epstein considered purchasing Rowan's private jet and plans for the two to meet at Epstein's home. Now, despite all of this evidence, a spokesperson has denied these claims, okay? The spokesperson says that Rowan denies that Apollo had any business with Epstein whatsoever. While Mr. Epstein sought to do work with the Apollo co-founders, other than Mr. Black, Mr. Rowan had neither a business nor any other relationship with Mr. Epstein. As previously stated, Apollo never did any business with Mr. Epstein. Okay, but what about the email that Epstein wrote indicating that Mark paid a little visit? They denied that too. Mr. Rowan met with the CEO of Edmund de Rothschild Bank at a meeting in 2016 arranged by Mr. Epstein that Mr. Epstein did not attend. Oh, is that supposed to be better? So in other words, you guys were in touch and doing work and consulting with Epstein. Why are you insulting our intelligence here? And by the way, the biggest issue here is that this scumbag has been chosen and appointed by Donald Trump to serve on this like ridiculous, fraudulent Gaza peace board. Okay, it's just, and then you look at this guy's background on how he's been going after universities. I mean, he has been urging his other wealthy friends to stop giving money to Penn. Specifically because he doesn't think they've gone far enough in fighting anti-Semitism.
So I've got more details on that, and I would come back to the Rothschilds as kind of an interesting side note in a second. But first, to Anna's point, look, they're not picking Mark Rowan because, attaboy, way to work with Epstein and get all these meetings set up and be Leon Black's partner. No, they're working with Mark Rowan and the Board of Peace because he is reliably 100% in favor of Israel.
Yep.
And the whole point of the Board of Peace is to cheat and let Israel take as much land as they can and kill as many Palestinians as they can and pretend that it's peace. So everyone on there, Marco Rubio, Witkoff, Tony Blair, Mark Rowan, Trump are all 100% pro-Israel. And they go, well, we have a neutral board. It's not at all neutral. There isn't 1% divergence from Israel's opinion. You say, wait a minute, Tony Blair, though, he was the former UK Prime Minister. Why? Do you know that his charity was set up by Larry Ellison and given $50 million? So Larry Ellison, of course, the #1 donor of charity to the IDF. So Blair is Ellison's guy.
Why was Jeffrey Epstein, by the way, wiring so much money to David Ellison, who's now the head of CBS?
Interesting.
You guys like knowing that? You like knowing that the guy who owns CBS was being wired money from a pedophile, disgusting pig like Epstein?
Okay, so I mean, CBS is done anyway. I mean, you know nothing if you trust CBS as a news outlet. Okay, but let's get back to both Epstein and Israel. Now, the other guy who ran Apollo, there's actually a third guy, Josh Harris. As far as we know, he's clean. He's not been implicated in any of this, and actually generally seems like a good guy from the other things that I've heard. But Leon Black was the third guy. Leon Black is the worst of the worst. He's the one that gave Epstein had to pay $158 million because of it to Epstein. And we don't know why. He says, oh, for financial advice. No, Leon Black was one of the top financial experts in the world. He didn't need anybody's advice. No, that's obviously some sort of blackmail payoff. My guess, let's put it that way, okay? But that's literally everyone's guess. So why did Leon Black have pay so much more than anyone else? Because now as the emails and all the documents show, he had by far the most vicious rape of all of them. The 16-year-old girl, he slammed onto the table.
I know.
He bit her genitalia. I mean, the guy's an absolute monster.
Absolute
based
monster.
on those records.
Still walking free, by the way.
And no charges, no arrest, no investigation. How could there be no investigation of that guy?
The 16-year-old girl has autism and Down syndrome.
And that's why they picked her, because she would be easier to
rape.
I mean, these are the people we're talking about. So now Mark Rowan, back to him. So he's partners with Leon Black, but so is Josh Harrison. As far as we know, Josh is totally clean, right?
I haven't seen anything about him at all.
I just don't know.
So I want to be clear, yeah.
But people say he's a good guy, whatever, right? So now, so back to Rowan. Rowan at Penn demanded that everyone that went to Penn stop giving, not another dollar, he said, to Penn. Why? Because somebody on Penn's campus was handing out Palestinian literature. This was pre-October 7th, having nothing to do with October 7th. So they want 100% control on college campuses. Do not let the kids learn reality. If they learn real history, they'll never be on Israel's side. That is why you have to shut up all the professors. That was Barry Weiss's job. That's how she got famous, by trying to cancel all the professors who were teaching real history about what happened to the Palestinians in 1948. So now even Palestinian literature, how could that possibly be offensive? That means you're an anti-Semite if you allow the Palestinians to display their poems, right? No, that is 100% control. And guess what Rowan is in charge of? The compact that Trump is sending out to universities saying this is the speech that is no longer allowed on campus. And of course, number one on that list is no criticism of Israel. So these are the people who actually run our government, who actually run our media, and who run our college campuses, and now are gonna run the Board of Peace.
Yep. All right, we gotta take a break. I'm gonna control myself. When we come back, we'll talk about the Border Patrol and ICE related revisionism that President Trump is currently trying to engage in. We'll be right back.
So look, we're gonna do the Rothschild story another time, but I'm just gonna give you this one quote, graphic 17 from the first story. I don't know if you can pull it up, but it's a little bit more complicated. So just 2 quick points and then we'll let it go for now. They say, Epstein says to Peter Thiel in one of the emails, quote, "As you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds." Okay, like if all of the other conspiracy theories weren't bad enough, yeah, the Rothschilds onto it, but he joined them. He started working for them in 2013. So if they were involved in the whole plot with the pedophilia, et cetera, and they were organizing everything, it would have been from the very beginning, not at 2013, right? But it's just like a little extra icing on the cake. All right, now let's go to some of your comments. So Amber Schroffner, thank you so much for the contribution on Super Chat. Really appreciate you. Constantine Kavira says, happy Friday. What? It's Thursday. Well, almost there. Constantine, we appreciate you, brother. All right, let's go to YouTube members. DJ Payne says, I'm not voting for any politician, left or right, who takes any donor money, period, especially AIPAC. Here. Rebellion PAC does not allow anybody taking corporate PAC money at all, or foreign government money, and OperationConsequences.com, okay? Make the pledge. Make sure you stick with it. Ladle 5101 says, one issue voter myself, get all the Zionists out. I will vote for Masse if he runs.
Same.
Okay, so that's where
I mean, if that's the only anti-Zionist candidate, I mean, where's the question?
A lot of people are talking about Massey Khan or Khan Massey. Like before it was like, ha, now it's starting to get a little real. So that's kind of interesting.
I think a mixed ticket like that would be interesting.
If they ran as independents.
We need to unite the country, okay? We need to get extremist thinking just out of the picture. And we do need to be America first. We do, we do, we need it. We desperately need it.
I mean, if they ran as independents and it was Kana Massey, that's almost a no-brainer. But anyway, here we go. Jillian7 says, Dr. Raul Ruiz is our representative and I saw he accepted AIPAC money. It hurts. Jillian, you gotta understand something. No, almost all of your incumbents are corrupt. They might seem like nice people, maybe they do some constituent services, etc. No, 94% of them take AIPAC money and they honestly, like they laugh at us behind the scenes. Almost every politician I've ever met knows it's all about the money. Like when the cameras are off, all they talk about is money. So I can give you examples that would shock you. Anyway, Punkman says, hey, Cenk and Anna, I just became a subscriber. I'm a paleo conservative, but I believe in your anti-war rhetoric. America needs to mind its own business. Here, brother, and way to have an open mind too. Thank you for being here. Kathy Osborne says Russia had their own blackmail thing going. Kathy, that's of course true. I don't want people thinking Israel's the only one with nefarious plots. Of course, almost all those countries have nefarious plots. What's different actually is what's funny is that in American media, if you say Russia has a nefarious plot or United Arab Emirates does, they say, okay, yeah, of course. If you say Israel, they're like anti-Semite, shut them up forever. Oh wait, that's weird. That's super weird. Why are we, that's the one country we're not allowed to talk about having nefarious plots when obviously they do, like the other countries do? No, our media is totally in the tank for Israel. It's a joke. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Also, I was gonna read this as Savage Truth 5354. I'm like, what is Savage? I'm like, oh, bruv, Savage Truth. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, okay? And that's what we do here, Savage Truth, so you've come to the right place. Everybody hit the join button if you can. All right, one more thing that actually helps you guys, and I'm not joking. I did it, and so many other people that did it, both including the viewers and people here are going, oh yeah, that worked. If you switch your cell phone service to Noble Mobile, the most you'll ever pay is $50. Go check your bill. If it's under $50, okay, then you don't have to worry about it as much. But I've never paid $50. I almost always pay in the 30s because you get money back if you don't use your data. Plus, if you go now, they give you just $10 for the first month. So tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch. It'll save you hundreds, maybe even $1,000 through the course of 1 year, let alone all the years going forward, and nothing on your phone changes. tyt.com/switch. All right, Anna.
All right, let's see what Trump is up to, especially when it comes to immigration policy.
You mentioned Renee Good and Alex Pretti not being angels. Do you think any of that justified what happened to them, though?
No, I don't. It should have not happened. It was a very sad, to me, it was a very sad incident, two incidents. And they mentioned the one now, they don't mention the other. Well, I think they were both sad. And who feels worse about it than anybody? The people of ICE. Good.
Trump referred to Renee Good as a terrorist who he literally said, who ran an ICE officer over. But now all of a sudden, he's saying that it is tragic. Now, I wish I believed that he felt that way, but I don't. I think it's a load of crap. But Cenk, what are your 2 cents?
So guys, this story is important for 2 reasons. One, you're gonna see the actual polling where you see where the American people are, not where the left or the right thinks they are, but where they actually are, right? And number 2 is, look at how fake Donald Trump is. Because before he's like, they're terrorists, they had it coming, they're savages. And now he sees the polling and he's like, oh, I meant it was tragic what happened. Did you?
Well, if you really think that, you would fire Stephen Miller like yesterday.
Or Kristi Noem, or Bavino,
sure.
All these guys. But the way that he switches his rhetoric after they give him a talking point and tell him, hey, you're becoming unpopular, so why don't you switch what you're saying 100%? He does. He's a total phony.
So over the past few weeks, ICE has gotten a pretty bad rap for a pretty good reason. They have been brutalizing the community in Minneapolis. There were 2 immigration agent-related fatal shootings. Of course, Renee Good was the first one. The second was Alex Pretti. But according to President Trump, they're the real victims here are the federal agents who carried out the shootings because they feel terrible. I'm not kidding. He literally said that. Watch.
After the shooting of Renee Good, you said ICE made some mistakes. What were the mistakes?
Well, look, I'm not happy with the two incidents. It's not, it's both of them, not one or the other. He was not an angel, and she was not an angel. You look at some tapes from back, but still, I'm not happy with what happened there. And nobody could be happy, and ICE wasn't happy either. But I'm going to always be with our great people of law enforcement, ICE, police. We have to back them. If we don't back them, we don't have a country.
Do you think any of that justified what happened to them, though?
No, I don't. It should have not happened. It was a very sad, to me, it was a very sad incident, two incidents. And, they mentioned the one now, they don't mention the other. Well, I think they were both sad. And, who feels worse about it than anybody? The people of ICE. They're strong, tough people, and they have to be tough because we're dealing with hardened criminals.
Right.
Okay, let's actually talk about the reality of the reactions from these federal agents following the fatal shootings they had carried out. So according to Tucker Carlson, one of the bystanders who was there and happened to capture the video of the fatal encounter between Alex Pretti and CBP agents, after the shooting, she said the agents initially scattered before returning to ostensibly try to render some sort of aid to Pretti and maneuvering his body around like a rag doll. Of claims made by another witness who said agents moved Pretti's body to count the bullet holes, Carlson said, quote, I watched that and that is what I felt like they were doing. She expressed disgust at them, appearing to treat him like he's a deer. Here's another example of how these agents react after shooting people, including American citizens, of course. So for instance, in November, a story that I've brought up quite a bit on the show because of how egregious and unjust it is, Miramar Martinez is a US citizen from Chicago, okay? So she was shot 5 times after a Border Patrol officer's car collided with hers. Now, they had claimed that she rammed their vehicle, but surveillance footage proved otherwise, that didn't happen. Okay, so the charges against her were dropped, but the reason why I'm bringing this up again is because of what we learned in regard to what the person who shot her, the federal agent who shot her, what he said after doing so. His name is Charles Exum. Here's how he felt after shooting this woman.
These are images of texts sent by the agent who shot you. And they're actually disturbing to read, but I think it's important for the public to see this. The agent linked an article about your shooting and texted, read it, 5 shots, 7 holes. I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys. Oh well, it is what it is. Happens. This is someone that works for the United States government. I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Now he was talking about you, and it's our understanding that he was actually bragging about his aim, shooting an unarmed American citizen.
Additionally, in a text to his brother about the shooting, Exum wrote the following: sweet, my 15 minutes of fame, laughing my ass off. Adding in another text a day after the shooting, quote, cool, I'm for another round of F around and find out, laughing my ass off. And then during a court hearing, he acknowledged the messages and actually defended them, telling the court, I take pride in my shooting skills. Has he been fired? Like does Trump have anything to say about that guy? He shot an American citizen, and by the way, lied about what happened in the lead up to opening fire on this woman.
Yeah, so I think the point of ICE is to create this kind of havoc and chaos. And it was Trump trying authoritarianism and seeing how far he could go. Would the American people be okay? Well, you say when he first started, he going after criminals who are undocumented, no problem. He goes after mass deportations, starting to be a problem, and the American people are very uncomfortable with that, right? And now they're mass thugs shooting American citizens and then laughing about it afterwards. The American people are deeply uncomfortable with that. So thank you, Americans, for pushing back, all of you, as you're gonna see in some of the polling we're gonna show you, and say, no, this is not, we don't want this crap. This third world nonsense, we don't want it, and we don't want you in our streets. So that's great. The idea that the ICE officers were like brokenhearted about it
is ridiculous.
Come on.
It's absolutely
ridiculous. Come on, nobody
And by the way,
believes that.
let me just say one other thing. Look, there are people on the right who disagree with us when it comes to like mass deportations. They want to be a lot more strict when it comes to deportations and all of that. We disagree with them, and that's fine. And I say that's fine because I'm specifically referring to the people on the right who saw what happened in Minneapolis, who saw the shooting of Alex Pretti and recognized it as wrong, the wrong thing for Border Patrol to do. And realizing how dangerous it is to cheer on, militarized federal agents roaming our communities like this, terrorizing American citizens, profiling people. There are two groups of people in this country: people that you can reason with and have like legitimate, good faith negotiations and discussions with, and then there are the extremists who, for whatever reason, love the idea of living in a society that isn't free, living in a society where state-sanctioned violence against its own people should be allowed. And I just disagree with that entirely.
Yeah,
that's not America.
The political spectrum has gotten so confusing because it bent in some good ways where the right and left now agree, release the Epstein files, get Israel out of our government, etc. But then it's also bent in a weird, bad way where the right wing, the extreme right wing that used to warn about the tyranny of government and the jackbooted thugs of the government are now coming all the way back around to, no, the government is great. You want jackbooted thugs that are masked and unidentified all over the streets killing American citizens. What? When did that happen?
Totally crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
So look, we're gonna get more into the polling, but one thing you should know, to Anna's point about the different sections of Republicans, Democrats, etc., is that about 25% in all the polls I've seen of Republicans that back Trump go, attaboy, ICE, shoot them harder, shoot them more, right? So you're not gonna talk sense in that 25%, right? But now we're seeing another quarter, in fact, 27% in a poll you'll see later in the show, of Republicans going, no, ICE has gone too far. Republicans, too far, okay? We didn't ask for this, let alone 77% of independents.
No, Cenk, this is amazing. I was reading a piece in Time just yesterday, and the percentage of Republicans who want to abolish ICE, believe it or not, those Republicans exist. It went from 10% not too long ago to now 19%. 19% of Republican voters want to abolish ICE.
Yeah, so guys.
That's crazy.
So crazy. Look, I just don't want people, like if you take that 19% and say they're the same as the guys saying shoot them more.
Obviously they're not.
No, my point is that there are some folks out there on the left that are going, they're all the same, they're all racist, they're all fascist. Please don't. That 19% can vote in the right direction, and they want to abolish ICE. 19% of Republicans take the win, for God's sake.
Okay, so let me give you some other polling because I do think the polling is what motivated Trump to give the types of answers he did during that NBC interview. So according to a new poll released just yesterday, a majority of voters think that the Trump administration is not giving an honest account of the Alex Pretti shooting. More than a week after nurse Alex Pretti was shot and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis, 61% of 61% of voters think the Trump administration has not given an honest account of the incident, and 25% think the Trump administration has given an honest account of the incident, with 14% not offering an opinion. So the majority of Americans do not think that Trump is telling the truth about what's going on. Now, it is important to see that broken down by party, though. So for Democrats, 93% and independents 65. I don't know how to make sense of this. Sorry.
No, among Democrats it's 93-2. Among independents 65-20. Think the Trump administration has not given an honest account of the incident. So Democrats is not surprising, but having a 45-point lead among independents gives you a sense of where the country really is, right? Now they finish up, but while Republicans are at 60-19, thinking the Trump administration has given an honest account. But again, there's that same 19% going of Republican voters, not even independent, but Republican voters for Trump say, no, I think the president's full of crap. And I don't believe him on ice, not just on Epstein, but on ice.
And collectively, according to the same poll, 80% agree that there should be an independent investigation into Alex Pretti's fatal shooting. The majority also agreed that ICE reform is necessary, including 92% support for body cameras.
That's beautiful.
That is
92%.
beautiful, yeah.
Come on, guys. Trump says no, they don't need badges. They could have masks. They don't have to identify themselves. 92% of Americans go, no, that's not the American way. In fact, I want body cameras on them.
Okay, hold on, let's be specific though. 92% support the body cameras, 61% support a ban on the masks.
See that, look, I'll take 61%, although that number should be way higher. And it makes no sense. Like if you want body cameras, that's even more of a way of tracking them than the mask. So you should be more upset about the mask. Like what? Like I have a body camera on a guy I don't know.
Law enforcement.
How do we hold them accountable then?
Needs to identify itself. Like they need to identify themselves.
Yeah.
Law enforcement is paid by us. They work for us. They need to identify themselves. And if someone is threatening them, if someone is doxing them, then they need to be dealt with. They should be prosecuted, okay? But the fact that all of us have to suffer with this weird secret police type situation, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I pay their salaries. They need to identify themselves.
Yeah, and look, it's an indefensible position because otherwise then you should say, oh, our cops who actually bust some of the most dangerous gangs there are in the world should also wear masks and should take their badges off, etc. And we don't do that because that's not what America does. So it's just total. But you know what, even though I think that 61 should also be 92, it doesn't really matter because 61 is overwhelming. Let alone the 92, let alone the Republicans, let alone the independents. So guys, in terms of like, has ICE gone too far? The jury's in. The American people think yes, they don't believe them and they think they've gone too far, especially in these shootings. And that's a good solid win for American democracy and the system that we have.
All right, when we come back, Joe Rogan weighs in on immigration. Trump weighs in on him weighing in on immigration. You don't want to miss it.
You can use a little bit of a softer touch.
Hey Andrew, what's up?
Hey Cenk, you ready to make the switch?
Yeah, I guess.
I promise it's easy, universal, basic, and you get income.
Yeah, you keep saying that. But you sure I'm gonna have coverage?
Of course you will. You think I would have bad service? I'm Andrew Yang, of course I have good service.
All right, let's try it. But I'm so bad at tech. So, wait, should I do this thing of the hashtag business? Andrew, you're still on, right?
Yep.
Oh, I see it. No, wait, I don't see. Oh yeah, I do see it. Here we go.
I actually did not realize that you'd be searching in real time, but I love it.
How much do people actually normally say?
Yeah, the average American is gonna save between $500 and $1,000 a year on Noble.
Yeah, no, you know what I'm gonna do, Andrew? Are you ready to become a Noble member? The two buttons are do it and go back. There's no going back, we're doing it.
We're doing it.
Here we go, Noble Mobile.
Oh my gosh, I just called you and are you now on Noble and not Verizon?
Why didn't you tell me it was gonna be super easy?
I know, man. Now you just stay away from your phone and watch the money roll in.
I can do that, here you go, phone, yeah.
What the Cenk, you still there?
Andrew? Oh, well, at least I got Noble Mobile.
It was really just one take. The whole thing is wild.
It's in my shoe. It's in my shoes.
Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. This is breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT. The place is like 95% TYT on.
You guys, the Young Turks, which is my favorite channel, we're getting that message out.
Tank and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
The people who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning. They seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
Did the official security vetting mention Mandelson's ongoing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
Yes, it did. They knew, and they let it happen.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Also, Mike West Camillo and Christine Eckert. You guys are awesome for joining. We appreciate you. Hit the join button below. Or you could also, by the way, do it at tyt.com/join. And if you do annual membership there, you get a couple of months off. All right, Anna, what's next?
Rogan's next. Let's get into it.
Joe Rogan was one of your biggest endorsers in 2024. He said he understands that the president's sort of plan to deport people here who are here illegally, but he also understands why critics compare ICE officers to the Gestapo asking people for their papers. What's your response to him?
During an interview with NBC News, President Donald Trump was asked to respond to criticism that popular podcaster Joe Rogan has leveled against ICE and its belligerent conduct in Minnesota. Now, did he lash out? Did he try to keep the peace? You never know with Trump. He's a bit of a wild card, but before we show you, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, Rogan's interesting because he said some things that were positive, checking Trump on ICE. And then sometimes he gets back in line, and that is surprising. So we'll give you the nuances, then we'll give you the polling and show you where the American people really are. And the polling tells the whole story, not just what you want to be true on the left or the right.
Now, the NBC host that you heard from, Tom Llamas, is correct that Joe Rogan has on multiple occasions shared concerns about ICE. For example, here was his response to the Renee Good shooting.
After that woman was shot, I think, unfortunately, well, everything's unfortunate about it, right? But one of the real problems is now ICE are villains, and now people are looking at them like murderous military people that are on the streets of our city, and they're masked up, which is also a problem, right? Because if you get arrested by a cop, you're allowed to ask the cop, what is your name and badge number? And you could film that cop. If you get arrested by an ICE agent, you have no such right. They're wearing a mask. They don't have to tell you. That's a problem. That's a problem on our city streets, right? It's complicated, obviously, but it's also very ugly. To watch someone shoot a U.S. citizen, especially a woman, in the face, it just looked horrific to me. She didn't seem mentally healthy, but does that mean she should be shot in the head? Is there no other way to handle this?
So what was Trump's reaction to what we just heard Joe Rogan say following the Renee Good shooting? Let's watch.
Look, first of all, he's a great guy. We had a tremendous success before the election. I think it was his biggest interview ever, and over 300 million people. It was very good. She didn't want to do it, you know. She decided not to do it because she's not capable. But I spoke to him 3 days ago. We had a great conversation, and all I'm doing, I have to keep.
Did he mention this to you? Did you guys talk about this? The ICE enforcement?
Yeah. Just had a good conversation. I think he's a great guy, and I think he likes me too.
Yeah.
And you know, liking me isn't important. What happens is that I think we do a phenomenal job, but I don't think we're good at public relations.
For me, this story isn't about how Trump feels about Rogan's criticism. For me, this story is interesting because you had a conversation on the phone with Rogan 2 days ago. That kind of explains a lot about Rogan's kind of muted reaction to the Epstein files, for instance. Muted reaction to Theo Von raising serious concerns about Israel and its undue influence over the United States. You know, these are topics that Joe Rogan used to be a bit of a trailblazer on. And all of a sudden, very muted on these issues. And I just couldn't figure out why. But you know, if you're taking calls from the president, that access and that relationship is gonna make you handle these stories a little differently, I think.
Yeah, so I'm not reaching any conclusions. My jury is completely out, but it's weird, right? So I mean, you would think Rogan, Mr. Independent Podcaster, would be all over the Epstein files. Certainly his audience would want that. And so the fact that he's been so muted on it is a little strange, just noteworthy.
He had Mike Benz on, who's like, you know, one of Elon Musk's boys. And they talked about the Epstein files, didn't talk about Israel at all. But you know, that was interesting.
It's weird, he never mentions Israel. Maybe he just wants to stay out of it. Like, look, it's nothing but trouble. And
he didn't before.
Yeah, I'm not making excuses for him. We're telling you the things that I think he's doing wrong, right? Then you have Alex Jones, who all of a sudden is against the theories that he
that he built his entire career off of, and everyone thought he was crazy, including me. And it turns out some of those big conspiracy theories ended up being true, okay?
So we were talking about it in the context of Noam Chomsky the other day, but there is such a thing as controlled opposition, right? And so I'm not saying that for Rogan, but Alex Jones is a fascinating case, right?
I don't get it, yeah.
Yeah, and so you would think he should be ascendant now. All the conspiracy theories were true or something, and he's not. And so how do they get them to, if they get them to quiet down, how do they get them to quiet down? I don't know, maybe if the president calls you and says something or other, or somebody else calls you. I mean, remember too, like Steve Bannon, released the Epstein file. It turns out Steve Bannon's all over the Epstein file.
All over the Epstein, he is not to be trusted.
Yeah, he has hundreds of hours of tapes on Epstein, but won't release them, was trying to help massage his PR. Like, what is going on here?
So we did get some of the interview that Bannon did with Epstein as part of the, you know, recent release of Epstein files, which I thought was really interesting. But I mean, look, what's very clear to me from the latest tranche of Epstein files is that Bannon did have a close relationship with Epstein.
Oh, they conspired together all the time.
Yeah.
Now Bannon could make excuses about, hey, look, those are some of the things I wanted or whatever. Okay, all right, but you're all over the files, brother, and you're the one who was so cozy with him. He trusted Bannon so much, he let Bannon tape him for hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
That's startling. So just grain of salt. But you know what? It's a good litmus test, because now when you see Theo Von and Tim Dillon and Andrew Schultz, well, Schultz, I don't know how much he's talked about Israel, but Dillon, Von, and many others, and by the way, almost everyone on the left, all the hosts on the left, credit to all of them, right? Because they passed the litmus test.
Yeah.
Because if you're weirdly protecting Israel at this late date, it makes you go,
Exactly.
Well, that's weird.
Now, in regard to polling, let's talk about it a little bit, because New polling from NPR has found that 65% of Americans believe that ICE has gone too far. That's the graphic that you're looking at right here. It's NPR, PBS News, Marist poll. And that's an 11-point increase from the summer. And it includes a whopping 77% of independents and 93% of Democrats. Still, only 27% of Republicans say ICE has gone too far, with 28% saying they haven't gone far enough. But there's more. A Quinnipiac poll did get similar results. They found that 63% of voters disapprove of the way ICE is enforcing immigration laws. And that's an increase of 6 percentage points since early January, when 57% disapproved. Now let's take a look at the next graphic. Or actually, this is the right one. So clearly there is genuine outrage in the country about how federal immigration agents are conducting their operations. And that's why we've seen massive protests break out, not just in Minnesota, but in other major metropolitan areas of this country as well, all over the country, against ICE and the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. Now that may be part of why Trump also said during this interview that his administration needed a softer touch on immigration. But despite being willing to join in the criticism on ICE, Joe Rogan is now also simultaneously claiming that the protests are not actually organic. Now he's argued multiple times that they're an effort to distract from something else, something much more important. I don't want to give it away. You should hear from the horse's mouth. Watch.
If it wasn't for that Nick Shirley kid and those videos, and apparently Nick Shirley had been informed by the GOP there that this was all going on. So this gets exposed, it gets into the public zeitgeist, it becomes a huge news story. It's not a coincidence that the riots break out in the exact same place where all this fraud is being exposed.
Of course, yeah.
Because ICE is everywhere.
Yeah,
they're all over the place, but it's not. The most violent interactions are the interactions that are happening in the place where the most fraud has been publicly exposed.
Yeah.
This is all by design. Why riots only in Minneapolis? And why riots in the place where there's an ungodly amount of fraud that has been discovered?
Coincidentally, right around the same time.
Exactly. Like instantaneously afterwards, the narrative completely changes. Everybody forgets about the fraud. Now all anybody cares about is ICE and fascists and Nazis.
Yeah.
Joe, I say this as someone who lives in the state that likely carries out the most fraud, okay, and that's the state of California. I'm sad to report that literally no one in any position of power cares about fraud. They don't. Okay, the Trump administration used the excuse of fraud to target liberal cities and blue states, but have they actually done anything about fraud? Of course not. Of course they haven't. I'll give you another example. You just had Dr. Oz visit Los Angeles, stand in front of an Armenian bakery business and accuse the Armenian bakery business that's been operating in Van Nuys, California as long as I can remember. I'm familiar with the bakery. I literally go to the bakery. I'm familiar with it. He accused the bakery of carrying out Medicare fraud. Medicare fraud. Now, did he do that because he genuinely believes that the Armenian bakery carried out Medicare fraud or anything else? No. He didn't have any evidence. All he said was, look at the Cyrillic writing. It is indicative of an Armenian-Russian gang known to carry out Medicare fraud. Okay, it wasn't Cyrillic writing, it was Armenian writing, and it said tarm lavash, which means fresh lavash. It's a bread.
Aha! So they're making bread over there, huh? Yeah, get me some of that Armenian bread.
And I don't say that to deny that Medicare and Medi-Cal fraud happens in California. It does happen.
See.
But they don't care to actually investigate it and do something about it. They don't care. They're just weaponizing this as a way to retaliate against blue cities and blue states. And it makes me so angry.
Yeah, so look guys, let's work backwards up from there. So first off, why is Dr. Oz doing that? Because he thinks we're the epicenter of Medicare fraud is that Armenian bakery? No, he seems to have picked it out of a hat, which like, to Anna's point, there are actually people who are doing Medicare fraud. In fact, there are Armenians who do Medicare fraud around here, but they didn't even bother investigating that.
No, because they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. He didn't bother investigating, hey, I wonder what that sign means. Or is it really in that language? Like, he didn't do any of that. He's just like, Armenian bad. I am now Turkish American inside the White House. Haha.
By the way,
right? Like, so that's his own particular agenda, apparently.
They're so stupid, Jake. They're so stupid.
Yeah.
They're so stupid. Armenians in LA. I'm not in this camp, but Armenians in LA overwhelmingly Trump stands. Trump stands. So you have a Trump administration official going to Armenian businesses, many of whom probably voted for Trump. And just a Turk smearing all these Armenians, not a good look, not a good look.
Yeah, so look, the Turk-Armenian thing is less important than getting the point across that they're doing it for whatever their own political purposes are, right? So for Dr. Oz, it happens to be attacking Armenian bakeries. He's like, they don't even have any crudité in here. Okay, so that's like a rando old school like beef from back in the day, apparently, I think. On the other hand, in Minneapolis, the two things can be true at the same time. Was there fraud? Yes, to Anna's point, you could find that kind of fraud in every state.
Yes.
And we're trying to expose that in California and other places too. And I love that. If you think it's only Somalis, oh, come on, guys, please do better, right?
And notice how they always racialize it too, right?
Exactly.
The Armenian community in LA, oh, the Somalis in Minnesota, like.
Yeah, are there non-Armenians doing Medicare fraud in LA? Of course. Yeah. But they're trying to get you distracted. Look at hate the Somalis, hate the Armenians, etc. Don't look at fraud on an institutional level because fraud is everywhere.
Everywhere.
I mean, if you wanted to hit the biggest mountain of fraud in the government, it's not complicated. It's not in Minnesota or California. It's at the Pentagon. They can't account for $400 to $500 billion a year, right? I found the fraud. It's not complicated, let alone a million other things, right?
And one other thing I have to just debunk about what Rogan said there. I don't know why he thinks that there are only protests happening in like Minnesota or anywhere ICE is operating. That's just not true. It's just not true. There have been more than 300 ICE out protests held around the US. So no, the demonstrations aren't just happening in Minnesota as he's suggesting.
No, yeah, but what I was gonna say, Anna, about that is, look, there's two theories. Joe's theory that Alex Pretti and Renee Good and everybody in Minnesota is part of the Somali plot and they wanna cover up the Somali fraud. Okay, I guess you could believe that, right? The other theory as to why ICE went more ballistic in Minneapolis is that since they were already targeting Minnesota, by the way, who happens to have a governor who ran for vice president and would logically run the next time around, and to character assassinate him would be perfect, right?
Are you saying it was politically motivated?
So once you already have this target, you go, okay, surge ICE into there, cause chaos, so we can blame Tim Walz and Fry and all the Democrats in Minnesota, and it's all their fault, and bring in even more people. But it backfired because they went too far. So okay, so I think that's what's happening there. And the last thing on the Minnesota situation, Rogan mentioned riots.
When did riots happen?
Where were the riots in Minnesota? Did anybody throw bricks through Starbucks windows? Was there a building set on fire? Did people go? I mean, there were no riots. What are you talking about? There was 2 people who slightly objected to ICE and got murdered, right? And by the way, there are tons of protesters blowing whistles, protesting, but not doing any rioting, not any assaults, not violence, not any law breaking. So don't tell me this is riots.
Look, there were riots in the summer of 2020 that the media overwhelmingly would not cover. I get that. That's not happening this time around. And when you smear these people who are demonstrating as rioters, that communicates to them, look at that, even when we're doing that, we're avoiding riots, there's no looting, we still get smeared as rioters anyway.
Yeah, so now, last thing for me is back to the polling. Guys, I don't want you to just skip past that. And there was a word that was used in the article, we used it a second ago, and I want to correct it, okay? So first, on independence, when you have lost 77% of independents, you're a goner. So if you say, oh, you're biased. No, I said the same exact thing about Joe Biden. You lose over 70% of independents, you're done. Independents are larger than Republicans or Democrats. They're the largest political affiliation in America by a lot these days. You lost 77% of them, nah. So it doesn't mean overall, but it does mean for ICE. That's why Donald Trump is in retreat, right? And that's why Donald Trump's numbers are now terrible. This same poll had him at 39%. He's in the 30s, just like Biden was. But 51% strongly against, which is a record number. Because strongly against is usually a smaller number. 51% disapproval overall is already a terrible number. Strongly opposed is an awful number. Okay, now finally, we use the word only, and the article just kept saying it over and over again. That's probably how it snuck into our production document. But it's not only 27% of Republicans thinking that Trump went too far. Holy cow, 27% of Republican Trump voters, not just overall Trump voters, which says a lot of independents, they're already gone. Of the Republican voters for Trump, 27%, over a quarter, are like, no, that's way too far, man. That's too far, I don't want it. So guys, I tell you that because of two reasons. One, ICE going too far, the jury's in. The American people overwhelmingly think they went too far. If you're in the camp of no, but everybody on X says, all my friends on X love it. Okay, sad day for you. That's not what this is. And it's not like this is close polling in the swing states. It's gigantic and obvious, right? The second reason I mention it is, if you're on the left, guys, you see there's a quarter of Trump voters that want everything he wants and amplified, even more so, right? And now you see there's a quarter of Trump's Republican voters who are like, not just Epstein, not just Israel, but ICE is a bridge too far and has gone too far. So if you take that 27% and you call them a racist, fascist, etc., like the guys on the other end of the spectrum, then you're gonna needlessly turn them off and they're gonna wanna retreat back to their original position. Instead, I think the right and smart thing to do is to say, thank you, brother, for noticing that ICE went too far and for helping to get Trump to come back from it so we don't have these thugs in our streets. Way to join an alliance of real Americans who care about the Constitution and doing things right. Yep. Let's encourage them and let's welcome them. I don't think that's complicated politically, and not just strategically, but morally. They're telling you they're on the right side. That's awesome. That's good news. So separate out different kinds of Trump voters.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the mass sell-off of Bitcoin. What's going on with crypto? Doesn't look good. Why? We'll tell you when we come back.
All right, let's go to Super Chat. DJ Payne says, where are the hardened criminals and sex abusers that ICE is arresting? Maybe they start at the White House. Yeah, isn't that funny? Oh, ICE is gonna get these foreigners who molest children.
I think it's pretty clear now that our government is totally okay with the rape and molestation of children.
Yeah, so So to DJ Payne's point, can we skip that BS talking point?
Yeah, I'm done with it. I'm done pretending. Actually, I wasn't pretending before. I had a little bit of faith in our system of government, but no more. So there's no new prosecutions. Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General, made abundantly clear there will be no new investigations, no new prosecutions. They're totally okay with grooming and raping little girls.
And they say, ICE is going after foreigners. It's possible that a foreign government organized a giant ring of pedophiles in our government, and our government protected it inside our country. Okay, so and the guy who's protecting the most now is Trump. San Fanatic says, rough to realize QAnon might be more accurate reporting than all of mainstream media. Also ashamed to see what Hamas did to Russia on October 7th. Oh, wait. Referring to how Hamas attacked Israel, not Russia. That's what Epstein was upset about, not anything to do with Russia. And yeah, brother, I mean, QAnon had pizza, and apparently they did use pizza as
Pizza's all over the Epstein files.
And the babies, I don't know how reliable it is, but there's stuff about babies in there. And meanwhile, our mainstream media, to his point, says Israel didn't do anything. And if you even say things that are true, indisputably true, will try to make sure that you never work in media again. So who's more right? I mean, this is an insane, topsy-turvy world, right? Rio Hand says, Cenk, I know you explained it before, but for Robert Maxwell, where should I go to read more? One of the reasons I want to say that is, guys, so Robert Maxwell was a big Israeli spy, stole our nuclear secrets, etc. But you couldn't, these days the searches are amazing. You just ask them a question, Gemini, ChatGPT, etc., and they give you a detailed answer. You should click on the articles to make sure it's right? But they do give you links and they explain. So if you even put in Robert Maxwell and publishing houses or publishing companies, you'll see the publishing companies he bought. Like then people will say, like people have literally said to us, oh, that's conspiracy theories. How dare you say it?
Okay,
no, it's literally true.
McGraw-Hill, Macmillan, Robert Maxwell. Done.
Yeah.
Look that up.
So that is after he stole our nuclear secrets.
Yep.
Not arrested, gets a state funeral in Israel, an absolute hero in Israel for robbing America. And by the way, the reason the New York Post mentioned the Russians is because the Israelis not only stole our nuclear secrets, but they shared it with the Russians in order to get something back from them, from the Soviet Union when we were mortal enemies. Because Israel's not our ally. Israel thinks we're a bunch of suckers to rob, take advantage of, abuse in every way until they're done with us. Arcane Eclectic says on YouTube member section, we're dying for an independent ticket. Simon Moody says there's probably better acting in a Melania movie than you get from an ICE agent pretending to care. Okay, all right, we'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Anna, and Tuja Teriyaki. You're awesome for signing up. We appreciate you. Hit the join button below if you can, guys. Anna.
Well, if you are paying attention to cryptocurrency and the crypto markets, you might have noticed that crypto investors are having a hard day today. Real tough go at things. So let's talk about it. The price of Bitcoin is falling off a cliff. The cryptocurrency has lost a whopping 29% of its value this week alone. That's a lot. And we're about to discuss why in just a moment. But first, Cenk, you went to Wharton Business School. You know about the funds and games. What's going on here?
Know about all the funds and games. Okay, so look, there's a big sell-off, that's obvious. The question is why? And there's a very interesting theory that goes to the elites maybe manipulating things. No,
they would never do that.
That would never happen. But there's also a second part, hence the 2 cents, about what is happening for the entire economy and how this might be a symbol of it. So I need you to buckle up and brace for impact.
So before we get to the reasons why this sell-off is happening, I really do want to focus a little bit longer on how big the Bitcoin sell-off really is. So here's a handy chart that you can take a look at and you can see, wow, the price of crypto really did fall off quite a bit recently, okay? So you're looking at the price of Bitcoin over the past year, and as you can see, about a year ago, the price of Bitcoin was just under $100,000. In October of last year, the price of Bitcoin reached an all-time high of over $126,000. But since then, Bitcoin has erased all of the gains that it made last year. In fact, the price has plunged even further to approximately $67,000. So the price of Bitcoin has now reached a 15-month low, and people are wondering, is there any end in sight? So Michael Burry, the investor who was portrayed by Christian Bale in The Big Short, says no. Here's what he says. Sickening scenarios have now come within reach. Burry argued that Bitcoin has been exposed as a purely speculative asset, failing to take off as a debasement hedge similar to precious metals, because precious metals are actually worth something. Like Bitcoin is only worth the hype. You guys get it? Like, no one has been able to convince me or explain to me otherwise.
Yeah, so what Michael Burry is saying is important because if Bitcoin operated the way that its enthusiasts were hoping, when the dollar is struggling, it could become a hedge. Hey, we can't rely on the US government or other governments, but we have this Bitcoin that's based in this system that's more sound. And so like gold, when the dollar is weakened or the economies are weakened, they should go up. But it's not going up, it's going down. So then Burry is saying, well, economic laws and rules dictate that means it is not something that has inherent value. It is just merely speculative.
Exactly. Further losses, he said, could rapidly strain the balance sheets of major holders, force selling across the crypto ecosystem, and trigger widespread value destruction. However, you should keep in mind that cryptocurrencies are notoriously volatile, right? So there have been other instances where there have been sell-offs and then the value of crypto goes back up or these coins go back up. But I also want to just note the fundamental argument that Burry is making here still remains true. Bitcoin in and of itself is worth nothing. It's only worth the hype. And that's why you'll hear, the crypto adherents and the fans of crypto constantly talking it up, but it's not actually worth anything on its own. So, and by the way, Bitcoin is really no exception. So 3 previous cycles have seen Bitcoin crash roughly 80% from its highs, only to rebound and drive even higher. So that goes to the point of volatility, sorry. So let's go to Bloomberg, because Bloomberg says that Bitcoin's crash is unlikely to affect the stock market overall, but we still need to discuss why this is happening right now, like what's causing this sell-off. And to do that, we need to talk about precious metals. So the prices of gold and silver had increased dramatically in recent months. That being said, those prices fluctuated wildly in recent days. So even those assets, the value has gone down. People have been selling their gold and silver. But overall, the precious metals trade is considered to be a hedge against the weakening dollar. Known on Wall Street as the debasement trade, the strategy is driven by fear that government's inability to tame inflation or slash debt will erode the system of currencies that underpin the global financial system. And Bitcoin has been marketed as a similar type of hedge, but it's failing to live up to that promise. As explained by CNBC, digital assets, including Bitcoin, have fallen deeper into the red as investors reassess the practical utility of a token that has been championed not only as a hedge against inflation and macroeconomic uncertainties, but also as an alternative to fiat currencies and traditional safe havens such as gold. Investors could also be pretty wary about the stock market overall, which has been boosted extraordinarily with these high valuations for years. I just think that quantitative easing has led to massive asset bubbles, including in the stock market. And I'm worried about that because honestly, anyone who has invested in the stock market in the form of an IRA or a 401k, even pensions, knowing that these asset bubbles exist, knowing that the stock market is kind of a house of cards given corporate stock buybacks, quantitative easing, cheap money, that stuff makes me worry. But nonetheless, one popular measure, a cyclically adjusted version of the price to earnings ratios that rely on analyst forecasts of future profits, says that stocks have been more expensive only once during the past 100 years, and that was right before the dot-com bubble burst in 2000.
Yeah, so there's 2 different things here. One is Bitcoin and the other is the markets overall, right? And the state of the economy. So first off, on gold, yeah, it's had a little bit of a dip recently, but I don't think that that's indicative. I think that it's gone up 70% in the last year, which is huge. And the reason why it's going up is clear, which is that everybody's worried about the dollar and the markets overall. So that's indisputable, right? When you get to Bitcoin, you've got different when you get to crypto, I should say, you've got different degrees of trust that people have, right? So like meme coins are just absolute trash, and everybody knows they're trash, and they're nothing but speculation, right? So the rest of it is different degrees. But people thought Bitcoin is the most stable. That's the real currency. That's not just like a NFT or a flash in the pan or a rug pull, etc. But now you're seeing, well, maybe it's not a rug pull, and it's not. I think, although
No, I think it's a rug pull.
Well,
I've never trusted crypto, not once.
Yeah.
I've always thought that it was a scam. By the way, Trump thought it was a scam until he realized, well, why can't I be in on the scam?
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah, and then he loved the scam. So, but now you're seeing Bitcoin crash in a similar way, and you get the sense, yeah, the whole thing's speculation. But now when you turn to the stock market and it's overvalued at a historic rate, well, in a sense, it's not a scam, but it's problematic. It's massively problematic.
It's a bubble, right? Like
Yeah,
it's artificially inflated.
Yeah. So look, there's two theories as to why people do believe in the manipulation. And when you read the Epstein files, Epstein talks about, hey, let's root for a crash, because if we get the crash, then we'll all be able to buy low. And those are some of the richest and most powerful people on earth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but I think the larger phenomenon in this case is, I think Wall Street is high on their own supply. So they just keep buying and buying and buying. And I know it's about to crash spectacularly when I start hearing, no, Cenk, this is a different type of market.
Right.
This is the type of market that doesn't go down. Oh, yeah. I heard that right before 2008. I heard that right before 2000. So we're in a lot of trouble here. And so the reality is, guys, why is it overinflated? They're like, oh, AI is gonna create trillions of dollars in wealth going forward. These tech companies, trillions of extra wealth that's gonna be created, and we're all gonna have robots, and none of us are gonna work. And they've got all these fantasies in their heads. But who's gonna buy all that stuff when AI leads to 10 to 20% unemployment? So, I mean, we're not even talking about that spectacular crash is definitely headed in our direction. But it's right now, we're worried about the bubble before the crash, right? So it's just a tinderbox at this point. And I'm worried that people are gonna panic any second now and pull everything out of not just Bitcoin, but the stock market, and then the collapse begins.
Well, we're gonna weigh in on jobs and AI when we come back, and a surprising figure has been raising alarm over AI and job losses for quite some time now. We'll show you who it is.
All right, guys, I wish I could read all your comments, but I'm gonna go as quickly as I can. YouTube members first. Megaloronica says, I wonder which one makes more sense. US politicians protecting an Israeli spy or a Russian spy? Who's more logical to get a sweetheart deal? I thought the same exact thing. I thought, like, really the entire US government is protecting Russian spies? Well, that would be a gigantic story. That would be even bigger than protecting Israeli spies. So the entire time the Americans have been the Russians, and that is the load of crap that these legacy media outlets are trying to get you to believe. Not remotely true. We all know the one country they protect above all, Israel. That's not close. Duncan, your roommate, writes, and the bigger the pushback and distractions, the more crap behind the door. Certainly applies in that case as well. That's right. Ada Jameson says, I submitted a comment on TYT Ideas page. I would love to try organizing a protest outside of the establishment media buildings to force them to acknowledge the Epstein-Israel connection. I love that idea, and I love that you sent it in. TYT.com/ideas. So in my ideal world, people start to actually do those campaigns on their own without us. Somebody has a great idea like Eddie, others build on it, and then they go, hey, why don't we go in front of the Atlanta headquarters of CNN and go, hey, are you ever gonna cover Israel's connections? That would be amazing. So I love it. Keep going, Eddie, great job. Everybody, you can write in at tyt.com/ideas. And you're not just writing into us, you're sharing it with the community. And people try to build on it. Let's go to Twitch. AJ Nestor says, you gotta love that Cenk and Anna finish each other's sentences.
I know, I realize that we do that a lot.
Yeah, well, 19 years. Suave writes in, if Epstein hadn't have messed with underage girls, he could have ruled the world. No, but remember, messing with underage girls was part of the plan to get the compromat on a lot of people. By the way, including note, Leon Black paid Epstein a lot of money, and Leon Black is a huge supporter of Israel. So they even screwed over the supporters of Israel. Like they don't care about anyone but themselves, like meaning Mossad and whoever ran that operation, okay? You say like they wouldn't target Jewish Americans? Like you think you're safe if you're a Jewish American or even if you support Israel? No, they'll do anything and everything to help themselves. Green New Dealer Dragon says, corruption kills and leads to all things dark and evil. Where are the Justice Dems? They should be attacking top party leadership of both parties. Effing sick.
Is that even a thing anymore?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a thing. I mean, look, I started Just Democrats with Shoykat Chakrabarti, whose office I was in yesterday. Check out our Substack. I did a fun little video there. So tyt.com/Substack. And no, nobody thinks Justice Democrats exist anymore, and it's a shame. It sucks. Where are they? It's so weird. Where's Ayanna Pressley? Where's AOC? Honestly, where's Rashida Tlaib? I mean, I see Ilhan Omar every once in a while. But where's Greg Kassar? He came on the show, he sounded amazing. And then he went into a cave and we never saw him again.
See, Cenk, this is why I don't understand your insane optimism toward, we just need to elect the right people. Like, come on.
No. Look, if you give up hope, then it's never gonna work.
I have hope.
Right, and by the way, the guy who started Justice Democrats and Rebellion PAC, the first politician, Ro Khanna. Hope.
Tucker Carlson, a terrible friend.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Guys, don't forget, save yourself a lot of time. Switching time saves $900. I don't know, I made that number up.
Oh my God.
Okay, tyt.com/switch. Nothing on your phone changes. You get T-Mobile service. If you don't like it, you go back to Verizon or AT&T. They'll actually give you a couple $100s to go back. So there's no way of losing here. Nothing else on your phone changes. tyt.com/switch and $10 for the first month. That's a special deal right now, so go act. All right.
Next story, go.
You make specific reference to truck driving and the fact that there are going to be these automated cars on the roads. So would you, Tucker Carlson, be in favor of restrictions on the ability of trucking companies to use this sort of technology specifically to, sort of artificially maintain the number of jobs that are available in the trucking industry?
Are you joking? In a second. In a second. And I maybe would make up some pretext for public consumption like, they're dangerous. The technology is not quite finessed. No. But the truth would be, I don't want to put 10 million men out of work because you're going to have 10 million dead families and the cascading effect from that will wreck your country.
Based. Cenk, your 2 cents.
Ben looked really young there.
Well, it was a long time ago. That was in 2018.
Yeah. So guys, the AI apocalypse is coming. And so now I'd say, look, I don't know that I want to tell you that Tucker's right, but he has been right a couple times lately. And vis-a-vis Ben Shapiro, it gets a lot easier. Way more right than Ben Shapiro. And so, but the key now is, why was he right all the way back then? What are we seeing today that is problematic? And the hardest of all, what can we do about it?
Well, look, what we're seeing today is that Tucker Carlson has been consistent on this issue. That video dates back to 2018, where he makes it abundantly clear that he would pass regulations that would ban AI from putting people out of a job in the trucking industry. And I'm happy to report that just recently he put out his newsletter and focused on this very topic, and he's been consistent. So Here's what he has just published. This was from his newsletter published today, Thursday, February 5th. Blow up the data centers? I'm listening. I'm listening. So
don't blow anything up.
Carlson really does argue that the military, in case you're wondering, does Carlson really argue that the military should blow up AI centers to smithereens? It seems like yes, that is the case, but why? Well, he begins with a recent story involving the Amazon layoffs. And we did cover the previous round of Amazon layoffs. There's been a new round of layoffs. 16,000 corporate employees were recently fired. And Carlson writes about that, saying, to be clear, the firings would be equally heartbreaking if they happened to be blue collar workers. These terminations are particularly significant, however, because they punish the people who were supposed to be safe from AI. Look, no one is safe from AI, with the exception of people who work the trades, like carpenters, plumbers. Those are important jobs, and you can't automate them. But anyway, for now, I hope that's the case forever. But anyway, America's ruling class, he writes, has spent decades telling the public they can avoid the consequences of automation and offshoring by going to college, getting degrees, and learning the trades of a desk job. And by the way, that is true, right? The whole argument has been go to college, have a career. I mean, you're untouchable, knowledge is power. And it turns out, no, I mean, AI, these technological advancements are leading to layoffs of both blue collar workers and white collar workers. So Carlson argues that the elites have gone back on that promise and look no further than the many CEOs who have warned that artificial intelligence will absolutely wipe out jobs, white collar jobs in particular. And Carlson has two solutions to this issue. Option number one, regulate the artificial intelligence industry. Stunt its obviously demonic development, prohibit companies from firing workers and replacing them with computers, and ban self-driving, he says, trucks. I would like to ban self-driving cars, period. I don't think that they're useful. I get it, some of you don't like to drive, tough nuggets, okay, get over it, be an adult. And if you don't want to drive, take public transportation and shut your mouth. I'm not really interested in watching self-driving vehicles all over my neighborhood, all over the streets. I don't like it.
I'm gonna disagree with you in a minute.
Of course you are, because you don't like to drive. But if you don't like, you live like, anyway, you don't even have to deal with my commute. I have to deal with the commute.
I don't have to deal with her commute.
Okay, I deal with the commute.
And I'm still talking.
I deal with the commute.
Okay, all right, we'll get back to that.
But anyway, so he also writes, yes, any of those moves could go against the strict enforcement of the cherished free market, but public schools and fire departments do too. The government's job is to protect its people, not adhere to 12th grade economics textbook ideology that shafts our country's workers. Ben Shapiro can call us communists all he'd like, we don't care. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so there's two really important topics in here. Number one is there's now a kind of a separation between the populist right and the corporate right. And I welcome that. Because the corporate right is, what do you mean? Corporatism is great. Yeah, of course. If you're not earning enough to earn enough for a house, that's your fault. You're being lazy. And you just don't like people who are more successful than you.
To be fair, neoliberal economic policy has really worked out well for the American people.
So by the way, those corporate Republicans are, funny enough, very similar to the corporate Democrats. And they have more in common than they do with the populist right or the populist left. And so we believe in protecting the American people. People like Ben Shapiro and Hillary Clinton believe in protecting American corporations.
Bingo.
And it's not even American, they're multinational corporations.
Bingo.
And those are the people who fund them, whether it's in politics or in media. Oh, what a coincidence. So, but I don't think that it's as simple as Tucker's saying.
Okay, he has another option.
Okay.
He has another option. So first he talks about regulation, boring regulation. Is that really the option here, the real solution? He has a preferred option, and I want to read it to you. The preferred option is that President Donald Trump order a military strike on every data center in the country. AI clearly threatens the United States more than Iran, and the few people in Washington who care about regular citizens should stop this project before it becomes too powerful to destroy. Why exactly does America need AI? To make rich people even richer? To expand the wealth gap even wider? To twist the knife in the heart of the middle class as it desperately gasps for air? AI is fantastic for Wall Street, but it's terrible for average Americans. The latter should matter more. So like, where are you coming from, Cenk?
So here's the deal. So we've got an immovable object and an irresistible force scenario here because there's no winning. So we have to brace for impact, and we've got to get ready for what we're gonna do after impact. The reason why I say that is, so is AI a disaster, Anna? Like in terms of employment, it's no question. Like, because if AI is successful, which almost everybody in the markets think it is, everybody in government, everybody in tech. So if they are right and AI is successful, they acknowledge it will wipe away tons and tons of jobs, tens of millions of jobs, but they're not connecting the dots. They all stop right there and they go, isn't it gonna be great? We're all gonna have robots cooking for us? No, not great at all. What are you gonna do with all those people? And when you ask them, they go, oh, well, universal basic income.
No,
wait a minute. A coder these days is getting between $120,000 and $200,000. At universal basic income, he'd be lucky to get $36,000. Is everybody gonna live on $36,000 a year? Or $24,000 a year?
Yeah, and look, besides that, Cenk, that's the most important point, right? About whether someone can live on whatever is gonna be offered up for universal basic income. If they do that, right? And we're making the assumption that that's gonna happen. We shouldn't assume, okay? But even if that does happen, I think that these people who plot what society is gonna look like, and they're all excited because they're gonna benefit from AI, right? They make this assumption that everyone who's not them doesn't care about being fulfilled, doesn't care about living a life of purpose, doesn't care about working for an honest living. And I'm here to tell you, most people do want that. Most people do feel good about doing that. So taking that away from them and just handing them some like measly check so they shut up and take it, and just accept what we've done, I don't think that's gonna bode well.
That's the second disaster. First disaster is unemployment. Second disaster is the stripping away of your dignity and purpose.
Yes.
And when that hits, they have no idea how angry people are going to be. So we're about to hit the biggest iceberg of our lives, and seemingly not a single person, again, outside of Ro Khanna, seems to recognize it in Washington. Ro's talking about, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna do a jobs program? Everybody's like, what do you mean? We're all making money on Wall Street. NVIDIA, baby. I mean, they're so clueless, it's sickening. Okay, so then wait, what's the other side? Well, the other side is, guys, we're screwed because even if we stop doing AI, China's not gonna stop. South Korea and North Korea is not gonna stop.
So we bomb them.
I'm
kidding.
By the way, if they get good at AI, they'll just take our weapons through the computer programs. So, and now, hold on, I'm gonna scare the living crap out of you.
Okay, okay, great. Looking forward to it.
A leading country in AI technology is Israel. We'll all be working for Israel if they win the race. By the way, if we win the race, then Israel will just steal it.
I have news for you. We've been working for Israel, whether you like to believe it or not.
I know, but then Palantir and Israel and AI combine, and this whole thing's over, okay? So guys, like China's not gonna stop, Israel's not gonna stop, so then we're screwed. We have to keep going, and we haven't even talked about the possibility that the AI could kill us all. And by the way, the very top guys in AI say that's their number one concern.
Look,
right?
Honestly, with the way things are going, that might be a good thing. Maybe they take us out of our misery.
Okay, all right. So now, what in the world are we going to do about this impending disaster? So some of it cannot be avoided. So we can have the debates about if you want self-driving cars or not. And I do. I think they're much better drivers than I am.
Well, I agree with you on that, but still, I would.
Okay.
I'll still take the ban.
Although if you're doing self-driving cars and there's a nefarious government that takes control over the cars, then you're in a different kind of trouble. And so, anyways, but there are bare minimums that we should do. So number one is data centers right now are spreading their cost to all of us. If they go into a town, they're increasing the electric bill for the entire town and not paying it themselves, but making all of you in that town pay for it. So if you've got a data center in your town, you're getting screwed royally, right? And none of your government officials are telling you that because they're all getting greased by the AI guys. So there's a couple of good guys as usual. Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland has a bill going, oh, no way should we pay for their data centers. He's like the new Bernie Sanders in the Senate, so that's good. So that's a small thing, but an important one. And then, but the main thing is we have got to get a gigantic jobs program ready. Because if all these people go out of work and there's no other option, we're gonna have pandemonium. So everybody's gotta get on this. We gotta fix it. We got to go start following the guys who are smart enough to realize what the problems are, like Ro Khanna and Van Hollen. And if you got guys on the right wing that recognize it, I'm all ears, right? Obviously here in this case, Tucker Carlson recognizes the problem. I'm not sure his solution is the correct one, to say the least, in my opinion. But at least he recognizes the problem and wants to do something about it. So we're all gonna have to figure out how to do this because iceberg straight ahead. All right, guys, when we come back, I'm gonna do something interesting in the revolution. We're gonna have on the Today Show, we have 2 Anahits for the price of 1. We're gonna talk to Cornel West and his wife Anahita West. And we're gonna talk about Iran. And if you think you know what we're gonna say, you don't. It's gonna be a really interesting conversation. So stay right here, the revolution is next. All right, welcome to the revolution. So this is a show where we're trying to bring right and left together, crowdsource revolution. So we've been doing some projects, some ideas, and also doing interviews with folks who are interesting. In a minute, we're gonna do an interview about a kind of a literal revolution that's going on in Iran. But before I get there, I just wanted to do a couple of quick things with you guys. So one, I wanted to just mention a couple of folks who wrote in and said interesting things about right-left spectrum during the show. Number two, I want to tell you about how you can contribute some ideas and then a tangible action you can take. So Don Dada Dragon, I don't have time to read the whole comment. He's a member on tyt.com, but I saw what you wrote about ICE and Israel and appealing to the right wing. Smart idea, totally agree, and thank you for writing that in. Jimbo wrote in, I thought all was lost in the country until I found TYT. Joined yesterday, thanks for keeping it real. That's amazing, Jimbo, thank you for saying that. And then finally, this is a little bit longer, but it's important, so I want to read it. I think it is. Egypt5 wrote in, hi Cenk, I listened to the Tucker Carlson interview while doing homework. I found myself looking over at monitor number 2 every 30 seconds in surprise. I finished my homework, but I walked away from the interview asking myself, did I spend the last 2 hours listening to a broadcast from the Twilight Zone? Is Rod Serling gonna come out of my closet and say, submitted for your consideration, the curious case of Egypt 5, accidental visitor to the Twilight Zone? And he says, insert Twilight Zone music. Cenk didn't get animated. Tucker was wildly amiable. Only his grating and laughs suggested I was listening to Tucker and not a well-coiffed clone. After a day of thinking it over, my conclusion is talk is cheap. I welcome him to our side, but I'm not letting him stand behind me if it can be helped. Okay, look, by the way, I think it's totally fair conclusion. So, and he's not on our side. And I'll go for a little bit further than you. I mean, I watch him in other interviews and other contexts, and there's certainly still tons of stuff we don't agree on. But now there's a new side on some issues, and now a decent number of issues, going from about a quarter to almost half, where we all agree. So that's a new side, and we've been on that side for a long time. And to your point, as you watch that Tucker Carlson interview, we'll try to put it up on tyt.com/press if we haven't already. And you'll see, well, I'm anti-war and I've been anti-war 20 years. Tucker said, hey, look, I wasn't, but I am now. And good on you that you guys on the left were in that place the whole time. That's wonderful, amazing, right? And he says that throughout the interview. But it doesn't really matter who got there first. As long as the left-wing brothers and the right-wing brothers are both anti-war now, and not all of them, but enough of them, great. That's a new day in America, and that's a beautiful day in America. So thanks for checking it out, I appreciate it. And yeah, and part of the reason I asked you guys to check it out is like, I think he came to our side on every issue, right? So, and now if that's the new joint side, that's amazing. It's a new phenomenon, new development that I think is encouraging. Okay. Now, in terms of taking actions, Eddie Jameson, who's a member on YouTube, said that he had gone to tyt.com/ideas. I don't want you guys to lose track of that because we've done some projects there that are really important. Some generated by you guys as an idea that came from the audience, and that's exactly what we want. We want to crowdsource the revolution. So his case was, hey, all the media, legacy media, is not talking about Epstein and Israel connections. Maybe we should do a physical protest. Go in front of some of these TV stations, newspaper outlets, and ask for them to cover that story because it's super weird that they're not covering it. If you like that idea, you want to back up Eddie's idea, go to tyt.com/ideas and start building around that idea and add yours to it. Or if you want to come up with a new one, wonderful, okay? And don't forget on the issue of Israel that everyone's animated about now, and even more so after the Epstein files release, OperationConsequences.com. Make a pledge that you're never going to vote for anyone who either takes Israeli money or gives any of our money going forward to Israel. So there's no reason for them to do that. Israel is one of the top economies in the world, and they have many programs we don't have, both in their economy and their domestic policies, but also in terms of protection. Iron Dome, and of course they have nukes because they stole them from us. And so let's make that pledge. And remember, you don't have to cross party lines. Just go into your own primaries and vote for clean politicians who are going to represent us and not another country. All right, now speaking of other countries, let's go to our conversation about Iran. Joining me now is Dr. Cornel West and Dr. Anahita Mahdavi West, and we're going to talk about Iran. And that is a very difficult situation because, in my opinion, the Iranian regime is not a good one. On the other hand, I believe Israel's the one trying to topple them. But I want to welcome you guys in. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you, though, brother. And we salute your voice and your courage. You're in the middle of battle, my brother.
Thank you, Dr. West. Appreciate it. You as well, for sure. In this case, I'm going to start with the other Dr. West. So, Anita, you were born and raised in Iran. So this is something that you're familiar with your whole life. So tell me, let's start with the regime first, and then we'll talk about what to do. But obviously, if you're on the left, you don't want a religious, ethno-state that is run by a few number of people, I would imagine. So that's my opinion. What's your opinion on
it? Thanks for having us, Cenk. Well, it's hard to say if I want to be on the left, if the left is defined by the left that I witnessed right now in America. But I am on the side of humanity and on the side of standing in solidarity with oppressed people, no matter where, whether it's Palestine, which we have always talked about the genocide of Gaza, or with my own people who have been oppressed for 46 years under a tyranny of monsters. Yes, I was born and raised in Iran. I lived through the regime of Shah and the monarchy, and I have lived at least, I would say, 6 years also under the Islamic regime. I come from a revolutionary family. I've had uncles and aunts that were killed by Shah in their prison or as the militia activities they had. My own father was in and out of prison, and the same thing happened continuously after the revolution. So yes, I don't think anybody in the world wants to be under authoritarian, totalitarian regimes where it tells you how to think, what to wear, what to eat, what to do or not do. I don't think anybody wants to if you ask anybody. But what has been really interesting is that the left that you call the left in America has been erasing and trying to minimizing the agony and the oppression and the suffering of Iranian people with this ideological debates and conversations, making Iran a geopolitical chessboard without mentioning the 46 years of fighting and resistance by the people. All I hear is Iran's regime is a resistance. First of all, they are not. It's all a facade that they are anti-imperialist. They're not. They're sitting at the table with China and Russia and America. And so they're not. And the true anti-imperialism, in my opinion, is truly and genuinely standing in solidarity with all oppressed people, even whether it's internationally or nationally. So throughout the past 46 years, from the massacres of prisoners in 1980s, few of them my friends that I still don't know where they are. Nobody knows. They just disappeared. And to many other uprisings, to 2009, to Women Life Freedom, to the Green Movement, to many other uprisings in between until this revolution. So yeah, Iranian people want freedom. Iranian people want dignity. Yes, it is a very complex layer and the multi-layer political fractions. I understand that. But what is very disappointing is that people are now debating on numbers. Well, it's not 30,000, it's 3,000. Tell us what number satisfy you. Because as an Iranian, one is one too many.
So,
it's just the same dialogue that we had to fight when there was a genocide against Palestine, and we kept hearing, oh, it's not 70,000, it's not 25,000 children, it's all Hamas. Right. And we fought against it, and we said, no, these are true. Statistics, one Palestinian child is one too many. But that is not the case when it comes to Iran, under this umbrella of being anti-war and anti-imperialist, anti-imperialism.
So I hear you on that. And since you're both Dr. West, I'm gonna use the parlance of Dr. Cornel West and say, Sister West, so I'm clear on it.
Fine. Okay. You can call me Anahita.
Just sister and brother, brother.
Okay, so on the issue of Iran's tyranny of this regime, I don't know where the so-called left stands. I don't think anyone speaks for all of the left, et cetera. So leave the left, right, et cetera out. But do I concede that Iran is tyrannical? I don't know about anybody else. Me, of course, right? Did they help the Palestinians? They did. Maybe they did it for their own reasons. But okay, but that doesn't justify their tyrannical rule in Iran. So I'm clear on that. But that's not the hard question. The hard question is, yes, but what do we do? Because the Israelis clearly want to topple this regime. They're not going to put in someone you like. They're going to put in the Shah, who Shah Jr. Your family was fighting Shah Sr. earlier. And they're never, ever going to do the right thing. And if America intervenes, it's not going to be for the protesters. It's not going to be for the Iranian people. It's going to be for the Israelis. So then what do we do?
Okay, but you
just jump in, or did you direct that to Sister West?
Yeah, I did, yes. So, and then I'll come back to
have you seen?
Yeah.
As an Iranian diaspora, I've lived outside of Iran since 1985. I do have my political stance. I'm not a monarchist. I'm not a nationalist. I'm not a federalist. I'm not with any party at all. As a person in diaspora, I have my own political ideology. But I am not going to tell Iranian people what is it that they need to do, that they are wrong to call this, the son of Shah, that they are wrong to want this and that. You're asking me what should we do? I am telling you what I hear from the people in Iran that message me is that amplify our voices, talk about the massacres, talk about the imprisonments, talk about the oppression. Do not waste time and energy constantly on political debates of this or that. For example, just this morning, when there is just minutes and moments of having some internet connection, this is what I got from Iran. No power, no electricity, no water, no food, no money, no job. No internet. They are literally living in a dark dungeon. So I am not going to come and say the son of Shah bad and this person good and that. I am going to amplify their voices. It's not that everybody wants in Iran is walking and praying and saying, we want war, bomb us. They are asking about intervention, yes. And a lot of the people believe that because there is not necessarily a visible leader, the son of Shah is a good choice for the transition, as he says. And yes, many also genuinely want him back. What I want is for this regime to be gone. And then the narrative of they help Palestinian people. Have you heard about few of the Palestinian people that actually stood up in solidarity with Iranians and say, this is a false narrative? They never helped Palestinian people. They helped the upper Hamas and other people. Did they build a socialist social services in Palestine? Did they help Palestinian people out of poverty? These are all false narratives. People, you were asking me what to do, Cenk, brother Cenk. Listen to the voices of Iran. Listen to the lived experiences day in and day out and amplify their voices and stand in solidarity with them.
But that doesn't help me that much. I'm just being honest with you guys. And so Cornel, I'll go to you next because so here's what I mean by that, right? So if you want me to sympathize with the people of Iran, done. I sympathize 100%, and I wouldn't want to be in their situation. I understand the desperation to get rid of this government, and I want the people of Iran to be free. And is that desperation leading them to go, well, it was a little better under the Shah, right? So maybe we get, Shah Jr. and et cetera. But that brother has said that he's going to work for Israel. There's no question that he is Israel, period. And so I'm not going to say yes to that. And he'd be a king, he'd be a dictator. That's not a left-wing position, that's not a justice position. So like the people in Iran can say, hey, I'm desperate. Can you help me bring in an Israeli king? My answer is no. Your desperation is correct, right? But your problem is correct, but your solution is not correct, right? And but even beyond that, I don't really care Shah or not Shah. The core question is yes, but what do we do? Because bombing Iran, I don't think is going to help in any way, shape, or form. So, but I don't know what the right answer is, and that's why I'm genuinely asking, trying to find the answer.
No, but I think 2 points though that I think I disagree with you, my dear brother. I mean, first, every nation and the people in that nation have a right to resistance, and they have a right to revolution. You don't look at any nation just through the lens of some superpower or regional power, and you overlook the precious humanity of the people who are being crushed. That could be true in the gangsterized Imperial United States. It's true in terms of precious Palestinians dealing with genocide in Gaza. It's true for precious Iranians dealing with unbelievable repression in Iran. It's true in any nation, in Russia, in China. So that if all you're doing though, brother, is looking at Iran through the lens of what Israel's going to do with their gangster politics, then you're never going to be able to be in contact in a concrete way with the suffering, because you're going to be looking at it solely in terms of pawns on an ideological chessboard vis-a-vis a repressive Israeli regime. Now, you and I hate to agree that Israel is responsible for genocide sponsored by the United States. We have been clear about that. We are uncompromising about that. No doubt about that. But that doesn't mean that somehow you think if Israel is going to either take over or dictate. No, the people in Iran have agency and dignity and integrity, and they're not going to be simply pawns of Israeli power. The CIA is the same way. The CIA has their own talking points and they want to destabilize Iran. And then people want to say to us, you must be tied to the CIA. Get off the mother hucking crack pipe. We're zeroing in on the suffering of these folk, and the CIA has been engaging in their project for a long, long time. We had the same challenge in South Africa in 1980. I can remember the dialogues that we had. Soviet Union supporting Mandela, supporting the Black freedom struggle, and yet we still were willing to raise our voices if the Soviet Union was engaging in repressive policies in the Soviet Union, because we didn't want to be on anybody's plantation, brother. I come out of the Black freedom movement, which means I'm getting off this US imperial plantation, but I'm not getting on the Israeli gangster plantation. I'm not getting on the Iranian repressive plantation or Russian plantation or China's plantation. But people who say, well, no, this is not about morality, Brother West, this is about strategy, and strategy means I can be wined and dined in China. I can be wined and dined by gangsters in Iran because they're part of the axis of resistance. And if you're part of the axis of resistance, the people in the countries have no right to resist and no right to revolution. That's bankrupt, brother. Morally bankrupt, but even though it is right in terms of the critique of the United States, it's right in terms of the critique of the Israeli genocide against Palestinian people.
Right, but this is another super important clarification, and it really, again, doesn't get quite to the point. So, Dr. West, I hear you. You know, you and I agree on so many things, and so now, if the Iranian people want to do a revolution, I'm not against that. I love it. If they organically overthrew this government and instituted, first of all, a democracy, I'd be thrilled. thrilled. A genuine democracy in Iran, that would be perfect, right? Even if they said, hey, look, we didn't have any elections or anything, but I don't know, we don't have any other choice. It was really the people of Iran that did this revolution, and we're gonna put in the Shah, and then we'll figure it out later. That's their business, it's not my business, right? So I understand that. But again, if they're gonna do that organically, wonderful, nobody's stopping them, right? And so have like-
well, the repressive regime is stopping them, and organically they've been trying to do it for a good while.
Yeah, no, I mean like in the West.
MOSSAD or the CIA has been trying to do. They've been trying to do it, brother. Human beings respond against oppression.
No, of course, but hold on. Let me ask this question. Because I hear you guys, the people are trying to do a revolution, they're real. And the regime is trying to stop that, that's real, of course, right? But what do we do? Because when we bombed Iraq, that didn't help at all. It just cost trillions of dollars. I mean, yeah, again, as the Israelis got another puppet government and that, et cetera, that's fine. And they got rid of Saddam Hussein. But what do we do? What do we do with Iran?
I have told you what you do, but you don't want to. You don't like the answer because you like to continue speaking about the geopolitical issues and Israel and all of that. Okay, but what you want to do? Talk to Iranian people, get their views, the lived experiences, the testimonials, and see what they want. Iranian people are, as my husband Cornell said, they have agency, they have dignity. This at all. And if they want to bring the son of Shah, who are you, who am I to tell him, oh no, that's wrong, stay under this oppression, keep getting killed, keep getting oppressed.
But I
have faith in my people that they are not going to allow another dictatorship come and take over. They are not going to.
Okay, that's great, but what do we do? You guys, look,
our revolution was hijacked. Revolutions are always messy. The results are always messy. No one can predict the revolution, but standing in the moment, in the solidarity with them. News that comes from Iran is never portrayed in these podcasts, whether independent media or media. I don't believe in independent media. Mainstream media is tied to their corporate donors, and independent media is tied to their subscribers and donors. So you will say always the narratives that will satisfy your subscribers. I'm not just saying you, I'm talking about generally in media. But I am hearing the news from Iran. I was just told that a friend of a neighbor's daughter a couple of weeks ago woke up dead from the internal injuries. The massacres of the people that were arrested. Thousands of people lost eyes. We have the most one-eye people in Iran because of the bullets. And then when they get the bodies of their massacred and beloved people, or sons and daughters and fathers and mothers and sisters, they have to pay for the bullet in their bodies. Talk about these things. Change the narrative. Shift the narrative to show the sufferings of Iranian people. You and I cannot say, oh, I like a revolution, but not this revolution. Then you're not standing in the right side of the
I don't know why I keep saying it and you're not hearing me. I'm in favor of the revolution, no problem. No problem, arguably a very good thing. And I said to you already, it's not my business to tell them who to put in. If they put in the Shah, that's their business, not my business.
That's it, exactly.
So hold on. So okay, and why do I have you on? Because I think that what you're saying is important, and people need to hear that message. And by the way, you're not the only one saying it. I know plenty of Persians here in LA. And by the way, not just Jewish Persians, but tons of Muslim Persians who say, and Christians, et cetera, who say, no, they're in favor of the revolution. They have family in Iran. They hate this regime. Put aside every other host, I totally agree with that. I get it completely. But I keep asking, yes, but what are we going to do? So Dr. Cornell West, so what do you suggest we do as the United States of America?
I think we ought to be in wholesale solidarity with the people resisting and trying to fundamentally change a not just repressive regime, but a deeply fascist one. Now, what does standing in solidarity mean? As my beloved wife says, not just listening to their voices, but heeding their voices. And in heeding their voices, what are they calling for? They're calling for a change in which there is a process by which a transitional government sets in for a number of months. You might have the son Shah, but he himself is not coming in to impose any kind of dictatorship and be in the back pocket of Israel. We know he's friendly with Israel. He's wrong on that issue. He will be contested. He will be pushed by the precious, struggling people of Iran. That's what it means to be in solidarity with resistance, brother. That's why when you keep coming back to your question, well, what does it mean to be in solidarity with resistance? Well, if we're in solidarity with the Palestinians, what do? We responded with BDS. They ask us, can you support boycott, sanctions, and the divestment? Of course, we listen to the voices. I come out of the black community, we lift the voices of people who are suffering. It's a variety of voices. There's no doubt about that. But I'll tell you one thing we don't do, brother. You don't render the suffering invisible, and you don't erase and eliminate the suffering by playing some ideological games about, we can't say a mumbling word about actions of resistance because Israel and CIA are trying to destabilize the very nation that you're calling for resistance against. That is nothing but a justification and a rationalization of massive repression that ensures that the revolution that you're calling for is a highly narrow, ideologically driven, and in the end, money driven. Because you're not in solidarity with the people who are suffering, you're in solidarity with the gangsters who are running these repressive regimes, be it in Russia, be it in Iran, be it in China, and for the CIA and Mossad, be it in the gangsters in Tel Aviv or the gangsters in Washington, D.C. Where's the moral consistency? Where's the integrity?
So, all right. So I'm gonna let that question go because I couldn't get an answer. I'm not in favor of bombing him. And so if you want me to be in solidarity with the resistance against the Grand Ayatollah and the mullahs, I'm all in. I'm totally in solidarity. I love them. I appreciate them. What is your definition
of solidarity then, brother?
Okay.
What do you do?
So that's what I'm asking you guys because I want to help, but I don't know how to help.
We already given our answer. We gave our answer.
But here's no.
I want to hear your answer. What does solidarity mean other than just saying, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that? What are you gonna do positively then?
Okay, so we all agree on the problem, right? So there's a tyrannical government in Iran.
That's right.
And the fact that there's a tyrannical government in Israel doesn't justify the tyrannical government in Iran.
That's right.
We all agree that the Iranians are suffering. And to Anahita's point, it doesn't really matter what the numbers are. Yeah, I think there was a lot of propaganda in the numbers. I'm not gonna agree to it, but it doesn't matter. 3,000 is terrible enough, right? So, okay, so we agree on all that. And I agree with you guys. The Iranian people are very clear, at least certainly the ones that have family that is diaspora in America, definitely against the regime. But when people offer different solutions, let's bomb them. Hell no, I'm against intervention. I don't think bombing them is gonna help at all. They say Shah, okay, it's not my business. I wouldn't vote for, I'm not in favor of a dictator and a Shah's a dictator, but it's okay. Again, not my country. If they want to put a Shah in after the revolution happens, let them put him in. It's not my business. But Dr. West, part of the reason I have you guys on because I'm in search of an answer because I don't have one. Because I know what's not right, and you're not gonna change my opinion on that. There's no way I'm gonna be in favor of bombing. No way, okay? So then give me an alternative. Give me an alternative to bombing.
I think I understand what you're saying when you say what can we do? You mean the United States?
You mean the U.S. government?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't think in terms of U.S. government first and foremost because they're gangsters too. But you know that too. But go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Let's talk about intervention, right? Because yes, I mean Iran is a country that has been the subject of coups d'états, so many times, wars, occupation, and people of Iran have a bitter taste about intervention. But intervention is not inherently moral or immoral. I think if you look at interventions historically, the facts are there to say there has been interventions that stopped ethnic cleansing. You were just in an interview this morning and you said the interventions of Soviet Union and Mandela during the apartheid. Yes, if I promise you, people of Iran are not walking in the streets and say, bomb us, but they are looking for an intervention that historically we have seen the facts that there were interventions to stop ethnic cleansings. There are interventions to protect people that are being oppressed and being killed in mass numbers. Those types of interventions. You're asking what US can do, what Israel can do. I don't know. These are not the regimes that know what morality is. I don't know what Trump or Netanyahu have plans for Iran. All I know is that Iranian people are asking, interventions help us. We are in a dungeon, locked in with no power, with no water, with no food, with no money, and our people, beloved people, are being killed. Jink, it's been 46 years. 46 years of these beautiful people, dignified people fighting with such a courage that is beyond and above anybody's imaginations. You're asking what type of interventions? Iraq was a different story. It was a lie. There was no there was no bombs or whatever. They went there to kill 500,000 people. This is different. The world is seeing the oppression of millions of people. So intervention is necessary. What type of intervention? I wish I can give you a solid answer, but I'm not gonna say go bomb my people. People are not saying that either, but people are asking for an intervention to stop the tyranny that they have been under for 46 years. That's the best answer I think I can give you, at least to my best of ability.
Yeah, look, I wish any of us had the answer, but so like for example, if you said, hey, let's make sure that we turn on Starlink so that they can get the internet, so they can organize internally. Yes. So anything that is not a physical bombing, invasion, attack, etc., that is in some ways helpful to the Iranian people, fantastic, totally in favor of it, right? If intervention means the US bombing, then I'm totally against it. So it depends on what we mean by intervention.
But those are not the only two options, though.
Yes, I agree.
We've been talking about the silence of the left in terms of the suffering of Iranian people, right? That doesn't mean we downplay Sudan, Haiti, anything else, but human beings are human beings. Raising your voices. How come there hasn't been a massive focus and limelight on the realities and the sufferings and the various forms of resistance in the left media? You know, the mainstream media, you don't expect it. They're gonna get their own conservative, neoconservative versions. Where's making it a priority? We made the Palestinian resistance a major priority, but no, when it comes to the Iranian priority, all we can talk about is, I'm not for bombs, I'm not for bombs. Israel's gonna manipulate this and that. Yes, those are elements, those are factors, but the people who are struggling, who are dying, said, raise their voices. They said the same thing in South Africa. They said the same thing across Africa in the decolonization struggle. Black folks said the same thing in the United States, man. The same reason.
Well, I mean,
so it's not just either what my government can do. When you think of what's happening in Iran, don't think in terms of what my government can do. Your first identity is not America first, US government first. It's I am a brother who's trying to be a person of moral force and have some ethical good, and I'm going to raise my voice and I'm going to use my resources to focus on this suffering and then acknowledge, but I don't know what the answer really is, because we don't.
Oh, then we end on total agreement because I mean,
that's cool. That's cool, though, brother.
If you want me to say I have sympathy and empathy for the good people of Iran, yeah, I will say that 1,000,000 times over, and everybody should. I think that's.
Do you think?
I guess I took it as obvious.
Do you think it's being said enough on the left?
I don't represent all the left. A lot of the left will tell you that.
You have access to. You are well-educated, widely read, brother. You know that.
So,
good God, when we watch you all the time, we know how broadly you read, brother.
Yeah. So in terms, look, I really don't want to be responsible for every host on the left and everybody on the left.
No, we're not.
Yeah. And so all I'm saying is, I get it. I get the pain 100%. And Iran's been through so much pain through all these different kinds of dictators, right? And different oppressive regimes. And they deserve freedom like everyone else. And they deserve, to your guys' point, overwhelming sympathy from the whole planet And there's no reason why they shouldn't get it. And the Persian culture is an amazing, rich, beautiful, awesome culture. One of the best, cultures in terms of their how they've influenced so many others throughout world history. So I desperately want to help. I came up with one idea, which is try to make sure the internet is on at all times, so at least they can organize, right? And if next time we talk, or whether it's with you guys or anyone else, if other people have other great ideas, I'm all ears. As long as we're not talking about Iraq 2.0, right? And
let me tell you one more thing before we end, because I have a conversation with someone in Iran. There was an opening of internet, and she actually told me, when we have these few minutes of internet opening and we look at the West, especially America, and we see how we are reduced to statistics and geopolitical conversations, we sit here and we realize how alone we are in our battle. And I said, what do you think is the best thing for Iranians to hear or to witness from the West? And she said, stand in solidarity with our suffering and with our resistance, and believe that we have enough agency to make a decision for our own destiny. We want a referendum. We will choose a person. There are many candidates, and we do want this transition to go. Whether the son of Shah is symbolic or people want him, we believe that this transition can help us. That is directly a quote that I got from a person that is really not necessarily attached to any parties, but she has been under this oppression for decades.
Yeah, I mean, I guess super last thing I'll say, I think that we get stuck in binary brain way too much. So folks think, okay, you're either with the oppressed people of Iran or you're with Israel. No. That's not, those are not your only two choices, okay? So like, yes, the Israelis are agitating for a war and they want a regime change for their own purposes. That is definitely true. But it is also true that the Iranian people are oppressed and they do not want to live under this tyranny. So we recognize both of those facts. And now, as as Dr. West was saying, now we struggle to figure out what to do, right?
Right.
All of us together, humanity, trying to help those good folks in Iran without going in the wrong direction. So I hope that everybody watching, at a bare minimum, they're asking you, now that I understand the ask, then the ask is the bare minimum, which is at least stand in solidarity with those good people who are trying to do the right thing and get freedom for the Persian people, which they most certainly deserve, right? So
thank you so much.
We appreciate you giving us this time, though, brother. Definitely, you and your whole team.
It means a lot.
You've all been wonderful, man.
It means a lot.
You can stand in solidarity with Palestinians, Iranians, Haitians, black folk, Irish, but we look at the world from bottoms up, the least of these. That's the 25th chapter, Matthew, brother. That ain't no ideological gesture, a pose, a posture. That's a life lived and a death we're willing to embrace.
Yep, and look, at this network on TYT, we have interesting and intelligent conversations, not just yelling at each other or agree, disagree, etc. Right?
Absolutely.
And we mix it up and we try to figure out together what's the right thing to do.
Exactly right.
I appreciate you allowing us this opportunity to be able to say a few words for Iranian people. I really deeply appreciate that.
No problem at all.
God bless you and your beloved family and everybody, though, brother.
Thank you. You too. All right. So Dr. Carno West, Dr. Anahita Mahdavi West, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate the conversation. And we appreciate, of course, the West fighting for oppressed people anywhere. All right, guys, we're out of time. And we're gonna come back tomorrow. And much love. We'll see you tomorrow.